is amazing. It was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Moskin and Cam Water.
For the first time here for season 3. Davis on pole, Vandergren in second. It's going to be sprint round action here tonight. Let's go racing here at Daytona. It was a good start there from Davis in comparison to Vandergren in behind. Cowan's absolutely bogged it up and already dropped out of the top 3 here as they come down towards turn 1 for the first time. There's biffing and barging between Gallen and Cowan. These guys are still going at it after last season. They survived for this time by though. Through turn 2 and 3 they come. Nice and clean, boys. Keep it up as they come up to...
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannons insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride, whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride.
ride with Shannons.
Call 134646 for a quote.
Through turn 1, it was a horrible start from De Bono. He's absolutely bogged it up and gets eaten alive by Dixon and Gowans as they come on through. Through turn 1 they come and they all spread out around in towards the first sector of the Silverstone circuit. They look all right at the moment. Okay, there's already been a car spun round. That's Jordan Ferguson offline.
Is green, green, green at Road Atlanta here as well. Faulkner did get away. De Bono is tucked in as well. Unfortunately, Houghton is on that outside line. De Bono does want to tell him to do. He's got the job. De Bono's overtaken. Now can he get Ben Faulkner up through turns for 2 and 3? They go round the right-hander, dropping down the hill. Faulkner's out in front. De Bono second. Houghton third. Ratcliffe in fourth. No real dramas going into turn 1.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be.
Shannon's.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
This is amazing. It was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Moskin and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tanek and Jamie Dyson just absolutely drove away from us. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent it up the inside, but he hasn't implemented it, which is fair enough. It's very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's see if we get the move on. Dodds just absolute thinker, but it is a really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to SRWtv, and welcome into the Cooler Masters Super Formula Championship here for round number 5 of Season 4 of 2024 out at Navarra, a brand new track here on the iRacing service and a brand new track for us here in the SFLs as well. I'm your commentator here tonight, Hamish Munro, joined once again after a couple of weeks away, Brad Hudson. Hutto, you were excited when you had the news that you were going to be able to make into Lagos last week, and then it all went pear-shaped at the last minute and you couldn't join us. Have you rewatched the race back? And if you have, what did you think of your little weather gods trick out at Brazil?
Good evening, Hamish. The last 2 weeks of racing have been quite exciting. I've sat down and watched both of them. Road America was an absolute hoot. A lot of damage, a lot of carnage, but yeah, last week into Lagos, I think caught everyone out. I anticipated there was going to be rain towards the start of the race with the spotty rain selected, and then unfortunately there was no rain whatsoever. So those who braved it and stayed out on slicks for the start of the race came out well ahead of the field. But yeah, there was no shortage of carnage, as I guess semi-expected. But yeah, it was a fantastic race to watch, Hamish.
Well, it appears that the week that you went away, that was the week that we found the chink in the armour and Dylan De Bono's racing. He finally lost a race. He didn't win. But it's only now happened one time. He won last week at Interlagos after a mega comeback in the rain to take the win from Jay Dixon. Currently in the point standings, he still leads. He leads after drop rounds by 56 points, or 46 points, ahead of Daniel Byrne, and then Jay Dixon's currently in the top 3 as well. But Gallo and Loretti are hot on their heels. Loretti with a bit of work to do, though, after the drop rounds. But, I mean, this championship, even though De Bono has been ultra-dominant thus far, it still feels quite close, as a lot of those top 5 in the championship, they've been up and around the podium every single week, so they're not really actually giving too much or too many points up to De Bono, especially over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, you're right, Hamish. I guess De Bono's been the standout of the season so far, but there's still a lot of racing in between. We've got 5 rounds ahead of us. We saw in Road America that De Bono's not immune to, I guess, his own errors. And I'd like to see another driver really push De Bono all the way to the end and make him fight for that championship, all the way through to the conclusion of round 9.
Well, of course, as well, for the Pro-Ams at the moment, Matty Keane, Pete Ziedler, and Nathan Burney are in contention for that title. But it is becoming a two-way battle between Keane and Ziedler at the moment. And then for the AMs, Keegan Caldwell is running away with it. He's got over 100 points gap back to Kevin Wakefield. So it's looking more and more likely that Caldwell's going to take out that championship this season as well. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, the rest of this season, there's a lot to come. There's a lot of racing to happen as well. And there could quite possibly be a lot of opportunities for just unfortunate races for some drivers, some bad luck, some mismanagement of strategies and everything in between. So just because, say, the likes of Caldwell's been dominant in the AMs, Keane's been dominant in the Pros, and De Bono's been dominant in the Pros, doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be the champions at the end of this season. De Bono at the moment, it doesn't look like anyone can beat him, but it only takes 2 poor rounds and all of a sudden you are knocked back down a peg a little bit because you've taken a drop round and then you have to take that poor round of points next to your name.
Yeah, correct, Hamish. And I think we've seen time and time again here at SRW where the leader, around the midway stage of the league has actually not won that series. And how many times have we gone down to the wire, Hamish? I know we covered a fantastic series last season. And even the one before that where it came down to the very last race. So, look, nothing's out of the question right now. You threw up a lot of names then who are all contenders. And I still see this going very deep into the season. It's definitely not over yet in all 3 classes.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot to play for a lot of drivers this season. It's not so cookie cutter. It's not so black and white. There is a big grey area of you never quite know what's going to happen. we can make a prediction every single week on what we think's going to happen, but how many times out of 10 have we gotten that wrong? I think we've gotten it right once in the last 2 seasons, but every single championship this season has gone down to the absolute wire. It's gone to the final rounds where drivers have had to contest one another for titles. Season 1 went to David Gallo, of course. Then Dave Roberts snuck through the cracks in Season 2, and then Gallo took his second last season.
Race.
Oh, it was a phenomenal out at Catalunya. So, and then last season, David Gallo got his second of 2024. He is currently, at least in mine and your eyes, Hutto, he's currently the driver of 2024, not just in SFLs, but very likely across all of SRW. He's been very consistent. He's consistently been up the front as well. Plus, he's been winning, doing quite well in the 8.6s, not just in the SFLs. So he's really become an all-rounder here in SRW. We look forward to seeing how he goes throughout the rest of this season in SFLs and in Hutto's dreaded 8.6s. But, there's so much more to come for these drivers. Now, we have got a couple of debutants here tonight. And we've had a couple over the last couple of weeks while you've been away, Hutto. So, of course, Jack Michelson debuted last week. Had a pretty strong run and then ended up getting caught out and ended up getting caught up in some moments with a couple of drivers out on track. Kyle Gretsch debuted last week in the series. He had a poor run. He's not racing here this evening. Trent Allen is debuting here tonight. He's had a very strong run on the Thursday night in the Vets in Split 3, absolutely dominating that series. He's, of course, teammates with Tuesday Night Supercars driver Kurt Nommensen. So good to see Trent out there with us. Brandon Levin, he was one of the hottest free agents in SRW for a long, long while until that dirty old gremlin, Steve Singovich, sunk his little filthy mitts into him and pulled him out on circuit for his team. And then,
another one for the trawler, hey?
Yep. Somehow he pulled him to the dark side. And there was another one, Nick Martin as well. Nicholas Martin out on circuit here tonight on debut in the series too. So we've never been here before though, Hutto. So we are on for a first-time winner. How likely do you think it is to be Dylan DeBono tonight?
Look, I'm going to bet against the house, and it's definitely not going to be DeBono tonight. I think an unfamiliar track, and we're going to get... I don't think DeBono will win the first or the second race. I'm happy to be proven wrong because he's having quite the season so far. But look, I'm open to the fact that I would like to see someone else win, and I do think it is inevitable that DeBono is going to have a strong season and be up there towards the pointy end. But look, it'd be great for the the league and the points and the excitement for the spectators to see someone else other than a dominant DeBono. In saying that, like we've seen seasons gone past where the driver or the dominant driver has gone on to win the series, and we've also seen them not go on to win this series. So, just cast your mind back to last season. Probably not a great example. Like Phil Vella, he knocked out. He won 4 of the opening 6 races. Only to succumb to an injury in real life, and that kind of hampered his efforts. And I think, other than Vella and possibly Gallo back in season 1, every driver who's won the opening or won 4 of the opening 6 races has actually gone on to win that title. So, look, it'll be interesting to see how the drivers go out there. Brand new track, unfamiliar for some, and with a few newcomers, it could grow a bit of a mix amongst the pack. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see at the end of quali, and then 2 fantastic races coming, Hamish.
Well, it'll be one hell of a test for them out there, Hutto. One thing I am noticing though, your microphone's getting drowned out a little bit for whatever reason. I don't know why. I might just turn you on slightly.
Just speak a little bit closer, shall I?
Okay. Quite possibly. It just sounds like you're in it. We may have to forego the sharing of sound because I think that might actually be drowning you out a little bit on your end. Possibly.
Perhaps.
At the moment, though, Danny Davison sits provisional pole position with a 131.43. Now, a lot of these drivers, they would have raced here before. It has been in the GR86 calendar previously. So they would have had an opportunity to race here before. Likely, names like Gallo, Byrne, and DeBono especially have raced here before, as well as Doug Gowan. So it's not like they haven't raced at this circuit, but it's racing at this circuit in this car that could be the challenge, being that it's new to the SFL calendar. It's a new approach you have to take to this track, learning a track in such a difficult car. That could really challenge some drivers tonight. Now, maybe tonight, whoever wins this race could go on to win the championship, because this could show the dexterity and the ability to rise to the challenge of learning a new circuit and dealing with the troubles that can come with that, and the challenges as well.
Yeah, well, I think early in the week, we heard a few drivers, I guess, giving feedback on the Navarra setup and then changing over to the higher downforce setup, and apparently it's very... it can get very loose in the tail end, and we've already seen, I think, that blue Porky's car of Peter Ziedler go around twice already. So look, I expect to see several spins and probably a few smashes along the way, just with, I guess, that lack of familiarity. It's not something, or it's not a track the racers would be out there, or the drivers would be out there racing regularly, as opposed to like a Spa or a Silverstone, one of those family favourite type tracks. So look, I think tonight is like really up in the air. It should be quite a spectacle, Hamish.
I think it will be quite a special race. I think it'll be a special opportunity for us to go racing as well. This is the first round in around about 3 rounds that we don't have an F1 Shadow round this evening, Hutto. So it's all about this season's championship tonight. There's no overhanging title races aside from the one that we focus on for our Season 4 regular season. So on board now with debutant Brandon Levin tonight. He's been very, very strong in the supercars this season. Be interested to see how he goes backing up the likes of Jamie Davis and other teammates that he has there, like Mitch Noble, Dean Singovich, Josh King as well. So we'll see how they go in qualifying. Quite a few drivers have set times already. De Bono is only sitting P4 at the moment, but there's quite a few who haven't set times, including the recently demoted Miguel Crespo back into the Pro-Am class, and he really just didn't perform in the first couple of rounds, at least up to the standard that we expected, did he, Hutto?
No, as we just make some quick excursion onto the grass. But yeah, I guess you can't be expected to come out firing on all 4 straight away. It's you're driving amongst a handful of special talents that we've already got here, plus just the feeling, there's another driver going around. See, that's that back end that I'm talking about, Hamish. I think we might see a lot of that this evening. But yeah, Miguel probably, I guess we had certain expectations of him. Hasn't quite lived up to that. But look, everything takes time. You can't win every race. Some drivers come in with a bang, such as Matty Jones actually rings a bell. Phil Vella, De Bono when he hit the scene. I think he placed him well down in like Pro-Am or Am before he smashed everyone out of the park and managed the podium in his opening race. So he was quickly promoted after that one, and as we've seen, he's been quite well this season. But yes, Hamish, it's always good to see new faces, and we've got several in the field, and it'll be interesting to see how they go this evening, coming halfway through the season. I guess they won't have the additional pressure or sort of a championship. I know they're well and truly out of the hunt already. They're 4 rounds behind. So it'll be interesting to see how they, 1, mingle with the drivers and, rub shoulders, but 2, how the lack of pressure may improve their racing.
So we've had a couple of comments out there already. Sean Bonici's out there with us. Good evening, gents. Well, saying, when will I get demoted? Lol. We'll probably make an argument that Sean could go down to AM class at some point. Phil's was asking us what track it is. Yeah, it's Circuito de Navarra. So it's the newest free circuit on iRacing that came out at the start of Season 3, I believe. I believe it came out in Season... Yes, it came out in Season 3. Because it was in the 8-6's calendar last season, so...
It's got a very Portimao feel, Hamish.
Yeah,
Like that double kick leading up to, I guess, turn 3, as it would be, and then I guess a very similar shape, how it kind of comes back in towards the main straight and back out across the top, and does like a bit of a W sort of thing.
I think looking at the shape of this track and some of the characteristics, I actually think if I raced here, I would like this track more than any other Spanish circuit on iRacing.
Ooh.
Which, like, I'm not that big of a fan of Catalunya, for example. I just don't particularly like it. It's not even going to show me... Oh, yeah, it's not going to show me the track map because there is no track map on SDK for it. But, yeah, I'm not that big of a fan of Catalunya. Yeah, Aragon, Portimao, it's the same thing, Phil. But, yeah, I'm not that big of a fan of Catalunya. Lebanon just looks gross. It looks like a big W-shaped circuit.
Yeah, I think Lebanon, like it does get used in the real world for the F4s, but I don't think it lends itself to perhaps anything like above an F3, so the Super Formula Light F3, was it the Super Renault, but the Super Formula,
Yeah.
and then the F1s, it just seems to be a little bit too tight
Yeah.
for those type of cars. So I think the guys will be hitting at about 130 around this track, so that's a happy medium sort of thing. And like you've said plenty times before, like when does the undercut overcut line, and that's that minute 30 sort of marker. So I guess let's talk about strategy, Hamish. How do you think tonight's going to pan out for these drivers? Does it lend itself to an overcut? Does it lend itself to an undercut, being on that minute 30 mark?
I think it can lend itself well to the undercut. I mean, it's going to be dependent on how easily drivers can actually get past others in the pack, how easily they can get overtakes done. Now, there is a big, obviously, main straight here where you can get a really, really good run on another driver in towards turn one. But if they can defend through one, they're able to defend probably for around about the next 6 or so corners and hold drivers off in behind them. It's a little bit similar to Massano in that way. So I do think that the undercut can work nicely, but I think it's going to work best for drivers who actually got some pace in the clean air, as De Bono has just proven it once again why he has some pace. He's gone provisional pole 130.67. So I think there is an opportunity for undercutting here, similarly to how there is at Portimao as well. So yeah, I think the strategy tonight, it's either, yeah, we could sit with the pole sitter for a full lap. We'll sit with De Bono as he goes for a full lap. He's just come onto the main straight. I think that it's really going to come down to what your pace is, where you are in the field, and just kind of how the race is going as well, because you obviously don't want to come in for an undercut and then all of a sudden there's a safety car call, because that could really, really hurt you in a way. But yeah, I mean, you can see through here, through 2, and then it's going to run up and down the hill a little bit, and we'd never really get to see these elevation changes on a track map, obviously. So if you can defend through here quite well for yourself, you can hold a driver off for quite a few corners around this track, which obviously then can bottleneck a lot of battles and hold back a lot of drivers as well. And actually on this onboard, I can see the comparison between this and Aragon. I mean, it's very similar. It's incredibly similar, actually.
Well, if we cast our mind back to Aragon, where that, I guess the double right-hander or triple right-hander sort of thing into that first hairpin section, a lot of drivers were going side by side, sometimes not coming off all too well, but like drivers having to run wide to avoid a crash sort of thing. And then we saw a lot of drivers after that first hairpin being able to run side by side and run their opponent like right down the corner, and like seeing that deep braking and seeing, I guess, a range of different defensive moves. So look, I think there's going to be a lot of gaps open up tonight if the drivers start to like really tussle with each other. And yeah, I guess we're in for an exciting night.
As De Bono comes around to end out this lap, what is it going to be for him when he crosses the line up towards the start-finish line here out at Navarra here this evening? He hasn't gone better or worse. I actually don't think that lap's counted for him, unfortunately. So Sepicoli's in the chat with us. Let's go Andrew Rushworth. So giving a love there to Rushy out on track. Where is he at the moment in the timing tower? He's in P30 at this stage. And how does it feel, Hutto, to have over 40 cars on track again?
Look, I'm not going to lie. Had you said perhaps a year ago or more that we'd regularly be getting 30 plus cars and then apparently 40 cars, I would have been like, no way. Like being able to see this league grow it's been quite an achievement for everyone here at SRW, and I guess it's testament itself that the drivers keep turning up week in, week out, and I guess we try and put on the best show we can. And yeah, it's just exciting stuff. It'd be fantastic to see this league or this series grow, and I'd love to see a second split, because I think we're starting to get to that that competitive nature where there's definitely a gap between. Well, there's always going to be a gap between classes, but that gap's starting to just get a little bit larger, I think. And with the more drivers that turn up and the better they get, having a second class and allowing, a second split, and allowing that second split to really develop and push into that top split, yeah, it'd be fantastic to see. But yeah, not this season, unfortunately. Perhaps next year, but we'll wait and see, Hamish.
Well, we've got quite a few drivers sharing their cameras here this evening. Adrian Loretti has actually adjusted his camera angle from last week and put it right over his shoulder, which I can appreciate more so than having it just kind of sitting in the corner of his sim room. So we'll keep an eye on how he goes. We've also got Rosanita, Johnston and Cowan with their cameras here this evening as well. I'm looking forward to this race, Hutto, because I really like it. I really love these sorts of tracks. And I mentioned earlier that I feel like this would be my favourite Spanish track if I actually drove it. Because, I don't know, I'm quite bored of Jerez. Aragon, I think, is just better on a bike than it is in a car. So, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those rare occasions where we go racing at a track that I don't know particularly much about, that has heavy influences or heavy similarities to tracks that I do like. And I feel like it's all going to add up for something that could be quite special for us. Now, before we get into the starting grid just quickly, do we think we're going to see much carnage tonight? Because I know the 8.6s have had a fair bit of carnage around here before.
The answer is yes, Hamish. Like, turn 1, that's going to be where the action is. Turn 3, there's going to be nose to rears, like people going round. We've already seen early on in practice and qualifying, cars just maybe taking a little bit too quickly and the back end stepping out. So yeah, I think we're going to see our fair share of spills tonight, and hopefully everyone can still continue and we just get racing. But yeah, it'd be nice if people can spin and just sit off to the side of the track.
Starting grid, though, for tonight's first race of 2 for sprint round action here at Navarra. Dylan DeBono will start pole position alongside David Gallo on the front row of the grid, with Danny Davison and Daniel Byrne in behind them. Giuliano Sinise and Thomas Donoghue will make up a top 6 of all pros, with Jamie Davis and Brandon Levin making it a top 8 for all pros as well. Matt Keane will be P1 for the Pro-Ams alongside Scotty Pocock at the back end of the top 10. Doug Owens and Ben Brook will then make up the top 12 on circuit here for the grid. Shane Ratcliffe, Jason Dett will line up alongside each other, with Dan Bartish and Darren Fahey, Jack Michelson, Matt Tesseriero in behind them. Keegan Caldwell, Pete Ziedler for the top 20 on track, with Trent Allen, Mitch Noble, Adrian Loretti and Callum Rosanita for the top 24 on the grid. Timothy Schmalenberg, Sam Katakazinas will line up alongside each other, with Jay Dixon, Nick Martin on debut here this evening. Nathan Verney, Andrew Rushworth will make up the top 30. Josh King, Dean Singovich, Greg Johnston, Nick Schmalenberg, Tyler Sheaf and Andrew Cowan will make up the top 36 as we move back to Brett Wassell, Johnny Rowe, Kevin Wakefield, Tyson McAvoy and Miguel Crespo making up our 41 car grid this evening. Wow, that is... I'm glad we don't have rain, Hutto, because it might have been a bit of a blinky bill affair this week with 41 cars, so... I'm appreciative that there's no rain.
Look at that grid, Hamish. Just look at that.
It's incredible.
Look, it's definitely a vast change from the days of 10 to 12 drivers that used to kick around in the early days of the F3 league. So look, that's brilliant.
Yeah, Phil pointing out. I mean, there's a lot of different features of certain circuits around the world. Mentioned the Misano double apex right-hander in the first sector is here. Obviously, that sort of up and down section of Portimao as well. So there are quite a few running areas here. Steph saying we almost have to agree, almost like T1 Coda minus the elevation. So there are a lot of similarities to certain circuits at this track. Yeah, I can see it. Maybe as we go around, we'll notice different corners remind us of different places in the world of racing. So we'll see though. But DeBono's claimed another pole. He'll start alongside his championship rival in David Gallo, who's been the best driver of 2024 thus far. Lights are up. Let's go racing for the heat race here this evening out at Navarra. That's a massive jump start from Jamie Davis in the background. Surely that's got to be penalty worthy. I mean, that was huge.
He's hit the front.
He has. He's hit the front of the field. I mean, me and Sinker saw Jamie have an incredible start a few rounds ago of the supercars. There's a couple of cars that have gone round. I think Shane Ratcliffe's off the circuit. Gowan's getting past Keane as well. So with so many cars, there's always going to be a little bit of carnage as well. But that was if that's not a jump start, he has got the reaction skills of just a light switch, pretty much, like turning on straight away. As
you don't turn
has now
back.
gone round, and Sheafy too. So there's a couple of minor spins further back. Oh, that was...
But unfortunately, for Davis there. Like, if he has jumped the start, you do not look back. You go and look. You're going to get a penalty if if he gets the penalty and the black flag. You just push as far as you can, as quick as you can, because you're going to cop a penalty anyway. So, look, if it was if that was not a jump start, holy dooly, what did we just witness, Hamish?
Well, Phil's agreed. He said if you already had black flag, he has to pit anyway, so may as well go. Yeah, might as well go as quick as you can. Push at the front of the field. So we'll see if he comes into pit lane as Brett Wassell's had a moment in the background with, I think it might be Greg Johnston.
Greggy Johnson?
Yeah.
And Cowie?
No, not Cowie. It's Brett Wassell.
Brett Wassell.
And Davis is in. That was a big old jump start from Davis. I mean, I don't think you could even disagree with that one. It was absolutely huge. We'll get a quick replay going for you because that was monumentous in the amount of jump start. Like, he pulled off before I think the lights were even out. That was.
I don't think I've seen someone jump like that since Michael Jordan, mate. That's how big it was.
Look at you coming with the quips. I love it. He's just come out of the pit lane from his drive-through, but this was the start from Davis. Oh yeah, he's gone like half a second before the rest of the field.
Perhaps he was hoping for an aborted start. I'm not sure on that one.
I don't know, but that is
Who's his race
ridiculous.
engineer?
Oh, I wonder who it is. Their last name starts with S, but he's now all the way back in the field alongside his teammate Josh King. Dylan DeBono, though, expectedly back in the lead of this race. He's got David Gallo in behind him. Further back, Adrian Loretti has just gotten past Keegan Caldwell for P19 on the road. So not the best qualifying from Loretti here tonight, but he is already up 4 spots in the DFR machine and looks to now chase down Jack Michelson. Now, Michelson, he's got a bit of pace about him, Hutto. He doesn't necessarily drive the open wheelers all that often, but there's a reason why he has a 3K I rating. This bloke puts a lot of pressure on himself. He has got a lot of talent in a lot of different cars. He could be a bit of a dark horse in future. If he sticks to the Super Formula Light, he could be someone that we see lifting a championship trophy at some point.
Well, the fact that he's part of the DFR stable just almost says that he's no slouch. They have a plethora of talent at DFR, so I think it was a very good pickup from DFR to go and grab Loretti, who moved from Kittens, if I'm reminded correctly.
Yes.
But yeah, look, Loretti's proved himself time and time again in the F3 car. Hasn't raced a great deal in the Super Formula Light that we've seen. But look, I always expect to see Loretti within the top 10. He's a good driver. I've raced against him many times. It's always been a pleasure. So yeah, it's always good to see him work his way back up through the field, Hamish.
Well, you'll notice as well, right in front of him, I mentioned his name, Jack Michelson. They're growing, Hutto. There's another VRT car out there.
No, another one.
And
Jeez.
Michelson, I mentioned it before. This guy's a talented operator. You know, both him and Loretti, they could be championship winners at some point here on the Wednesday night. If Michelson sticks to it, if Loretti stays around, these guys could be proper contenders at some point. But you can see on the camera of Loretti's rig, he's got a whole lot of movement in that thing. He's definitely got the motion going on the rig. And but he's dropped a bit of pace now over Michelson, who's started to catch up to the back end of this week's debutant, one of this week's debutants, Trent Allen.
Yeah, good showing from Trent there early on in the piece. Haven't really heard or seen much of him so far, so it'll be interesting to keep our eye on him and see if he can push into the top 10 and perhaps sit on pole for race 2. But yeah, fantastic stuff, Alan.
So there's been a couple of drivers who dropped big spots early on. Timothy Schralenberg's down 16, Ratcliffe's down 21, Bartish down 15, Davis, of course, down 19 as well. Callum Rosanita, a bit further back in the field, he's in an intense battle with Sam Katakazinas at the moment, which I think the way that Katakazinas has been driving and the way that he's kind of been attacking as he goes to the overtake on Callum here as he was just adjusting himself in the rig. I don't know. I feel like arguments could be made that maybe Sam could be one of those pro drivers that eventually gets knocked back down to Pro-Am, as Jay Dixon's been spun round up ahead of them. Actually, no, that's Mitch Noble there, but I reckon Dixon's been involved because he's dropped a couple of spots and Noble was up and around him.
Oh, Bartush just jams on the brakes. Oh, Noble's doing the right thing. He's just holding his brakes, waiting for the traffic to clear. So, yeah, smart move by Noble. But, yeah, back to Katakazinos. And we saw him come from the Pro-Am field, Hamish, to be promoted into Pro. And I think you're right. He's probably right on the cusp of being a fantastic Pro. That's close as we see 3 drivers
Keegan.
go. Trying to, is that Keegan Caldwell in the middle there?
Yeah, that was Keegan right in the middle.
I've got to admit, he's like, I'll get to Keegan in a sec, but yeah, Katagazinos, he's one of those drivers that he's a very strong performer in the Pro-Am class, but he's probably just not quite the caliber of a pro. He's like the bottom of the pro class. Like, he gets results here and there, but he's never, I don't think he's won a race as a pro. Not that I can remember, but I do think his name's on the winners list. So, look, is there a case for Katagazinos to go down to Pro-Am? Perhaps. The likes of Keane and Peter Seidler, they're about the same. Those three drivers are probably all around the same skill level, to be honest, Hamish. They're all,
Matty Gerard as
they
well,
could bounce between, and Matthew Gerard, yes.
Yeah.
So probably the four of them.
I think if we were to go to four classes, I feel like they would be the first four nominations to go into the in-between Pro-Am and Pro class.
Correct. Yeah, and that's where we'd probably look to have like two complete splits, like two complete servers, because then you can have like the top end of the pros, and then the
Pro-A and
back end of the
Pro-B,
pros,
and then you have Pro-Am and Am in the second split.
Yeah, or like A, B, C, D, or however it gets split up, sort of thing.
Phil pointing out that
those names.
Yeah, those names. I mean, they'd be the first ballot, surely, for that selection. Phil's pointed out Keegan is a very brave driver, maybe blindly brave at times. Is Keegan?
I will admit, like,
he's ambitious.
Keegan's. He's quick, and I think he's started to, like, he's obviously gone out and given himself a target this season, and saying that he wants to win the AM Championship. He even came out and said that he wants to beat Callum Rosanita. That was his benchmark. That's the driver he needs to chase, who's only 2 cars ahead of him. So it's good to see that Keegan is actually putting in the hard yards, and he's reaping the rewards so far. However, from watching the last couple of weeks, I have noticed while sitting at home that he's ambitious, he's brave, but he's more than likely to have a spin or an incident or a small misdemeanor that'll bring him undone. And I think the thing that's really been in his benefit so far is most of the tracks that we've raced at this season have not been that narrow. And what I mean by that, Hamish, is the fact that there's not walls either side of the track immediately. It doesn't just go like curb wall, like we would say Detroit, or
even
there's
Long
a lot of
Beach as
runoff.
well.
There's a lot of runoff area,
Steph,
which kind of benefits.
I was going to say, Steph just said not afraid to have a crack. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a crack or wanting to have a crack, Steph. But one thing that I think Keegan, he has started to get better at it, to his credit, but he still struggles with it, is actually being calculated in when he has a crack and when he doesn't. It feels like he still at times jumps on any opportunity that he's given, and that can actually be a detriment at some point, because just jumping on every single opportunity more times, than good, you're likely going to end up in something as well. It's a struggle.
You've nailed it, Hamish. And another thing I notice is, like, it's fantastic to see racing, and I applaud anyone that wants to race the guys above them. Well, that's fine. I've got no problem with that. However, I think with the gap that Corbell has at the moment, he could probably afford to not fight like an approaching pro. So let's just say
he could afford right now, with the gap he has in the championship, consolidate where he is in the field, finish P21.
Correct. Like, it'd be nice if he picks I think he'll probably try and go Rosanita, being his benchmark. Yeah. But like, if Martin seems to catch him now, if I was Corbell, I'd just be letting him by. Like, it's one position, it's only 2 points for a sprint race, so you're not going to lose that much back to your opponents, as we see Corbell pull out and get the move done on Rosanita. But he's definitely brave. In the fact that he'll drive, or he'll race against the Pro-Ams, he'll race against the pros, and I applaud that. But I do think it may bring him undone at some point this season, Hamish.
I think, Steph said that it's hard to find a balance between too aggressive and the right amount of aggressiveness. It's not about being aggressive per se, but it's about being able to apply pressure to someone without pressuring yourself to do it.
Pick and choose your battles.
Exactly.
That's essentially what it is.
Pick and choose your battles. Pick and choose where you put your car. Now, he got the move done on Cal, but Cal's not necessarily going to fight him for that position just yet. Cal's someone who will take consistency over anything any day. That's a reason why he's taken championships to the absolute limit, like last season against Matt. There's a reason that those guys are now teammates and that they work so well together, because they have a very similar mindset of how they want to tackle championships. What I think, outside of how well Keegan's done this season, what I think is also helping him in this championship is actually just how, unfortunately, inconsistent the rest of the AMs are this season. Because normally, at least the last 3 seasons, the AM champion's been the one who is the most consistent. That's where it's come from. As we can see, Danny Davison, Daniel Byrne battling. Davison's been knocked on the front end by Byrne, and he's off the circuit. Oh, very lucky to have so much runoff there, Hutto, but that could have ended very poorly again if we had any of those walls, but Gowans may call in that rejoin. I don't know how to call that one per se. That was
the rejoin. Yeah, I guess
even the knock with Byrne as well.
Yeah, I think Davison probably could have had a wider approach, like kind of put his wheels over the top of the ripple strip to come back onto the track there, and just allow Gowans a bit more of a to allow for that wider exit that you'd anticipate. But look, Dougie Gowans is a smart driver. He's another one of those drivers that doesn't necessarily have to be racing for P1 each time. They'll take the consistency, they'll take the crumbs where they fall. So look, for Davison to come up or come in just in front of him, I don't think Dougie Gowans will have too much of an issue with that one.
Here as well, we were just talking about Keegan. He's actually dropped a couple of spots, so I reckon he's had an off, because all of a sudden Josh King's gotten past him for position. So what's happened with Keegan, and why has he gone off circuit? Up. This will answer the question why. So he's actually had a spin, it seems. Oh, just carrying too much speed. He's run it wide onto the curb, locks it up slightly, and yeah, tries to carry the speed through the corner. Never going to work, unfortunately. So he's pushing hard to try and keep up with, I think it was Katakazinos he was trying to catch, and he's just dropped a heap of spots, and that's what may cost him at the end of the season, is those moments like that. So it's unfortunate, but it happens.
He reminds, he's got a very similar driver profile to, say, Dylan De Bono. Probably like quick and at the top end of their class, but is prone to self-errors. So, yeah. Well, we'll see how the season plays out as they go all the way down the main straight. Dan Bartouche licking his lips right here as they go 3 wide into turn 1.
Oh my God, how did they make it through there? Josh King was very smart just to back out of it. Again, that comes back to the old adage I've been preaching all season, control the controllable. King, very smart there just to back out of it, not push it too hard. He knew that Keegan wasn't going to give it up very easily, and he just controlled his own race and controlled that moment there as Caldwell's coming back at Bartush. So this is a battle between the top 2 in the AMs, and then Bartush, who's P6 in the Pro-Ams. Top 3 for the AMs at the moment is Caldwell, King and Sinkovic at this stage, although he's a bit further back. Top 3 for the Pro-Ams, Matt Keane, Jason Depp and Pete Ziegler, and they're all together on track at the moment, just outside the top 10. But Keane sits in the position where he could, yeah, he has the provisional pole for the next race. So this could get a bit spicy for race number 2. Top 3 overall at the moment is Dylan De Bono, David Gallo and Daniel Byrne at this stage. As Johnny Rose had a moment and he's off the circuit. What's happened to him? Has he just pulled it up, or has he actually had a moment there? Oh, he was blinking. And went out of existence. Ah, he must have pulled it over. Right. Yeah, he's pulled it over. So he must have had a moment, and then he's just pulled it over to get out of people's way, I think.
Gather himself, perhaps.
Yeah. That was good. He's back on track, though. Mitch Noble's also had a moment just ahead of him. He's now returning to circuit, so a bit of action at the back end of the field, including Tim Schmalenberg, who's just spun around, and that sigh of disappointment comes from the JWM team owner, Mr. Hudson, to see one of his drivers turned around. You wouldn't have wanted to be here last week, Hutto. They had quite a few moments out at Interlagos.
Oh, we've had our ups and downs at JWM, and it kills me to not be able to race, and then it kills me even more when I see my teammates go around. So, look, it's all in good fun, good nature. Who's that? Cutting grass
Johnny
over
Rowe.
there.
So he's
Johnny
touching
Rowe.
grass. So he's struggling to get back to pit lane. Might have a bit of an issue. Maybe he has a screen problem or something. I'm not sure. Greg Johnson, he's had an unfortunate run in this race thus far, but he is going once again. He's a bit further down the order here this evening. He's one of our drivers with our cams on this evening, representing the Prostate Cancer Foundation of Australia, as well as Team Greg Racing as well. As there's quite a few movers up and down the field, as I believe Callum Rossonita has had a moment, but he's kept it going once again, so I reckon he's only had a minor spin. Same thing with Tyson McAvoy. So, man who's used to having moments in the safety car is also having one in the actual race car itself. Hutto, is Mr. McAvoy.
Yeah, I guess Tyson's tried his hand at open wheelers a few times. I think he much prefers a sedan to an open wheeler, and if I remember correctly, and if you always want to go back to a certain race at Fuji Speedway, I think it was, race 2, yeah, you might see a torpedo sort of thing from Tyson. Very entertaining and a bit of a giggle for all. Unfortunately for the drivers he collected.
I recall Imola when he crossed the chicane, the last chicane in the safety car. After absolutely flaming Husey for spinning the safety car on Tuesday Night Supercars, the next day in SFLs, he just straight lined the chicane up at Imola, so that was phenomenal.
He's had his moments, his highlight reel sort of thing, which is always a a bit of a laugh here. But yeah, I guess applaud Tyson or any other driver that's trying to transfer or broaden their horizons in terms of the racing experience, going from say a sedan to open wheelers and vice versa. And we see that up and down the field, Hamish. There's probably like perhaps 10 to 15 drivers in this field that race both open wheelers and sedans.
Well, at this point, it's been a very chaotic race thus far. No safety cars have been called. We've got 3 minutes left to run. I mentioned the name earlier, Jack Michelson. He's been on a mega run this race thus far, Hutto. He's up 6 spots at the moment and is chasing down Matty Keane for that P10 on the road. And I'm going to say it, for any of the drivers who you might be questioning, or how would they go off pole position, outside of our regular players who we've seen start on pole many a times, who like De Bono, Gallo, Burnson, he's 11, whoever, as he's about to drop a spot here to Ziedler, if there was anyone in this field who I wouldn't want to start on pole, it's probably Michelson, Loretti, or Davis. And if Michelson was to get on pole,
you won't catch him.
you don't want him on pole, because Michelson's ridiculous. And I mean, he's had some great pace tonight. He hasn't had the pace over the field, but he's a very consistent driver. So if he manages to somehow get past Ziedler and Keane here in the final couple of minutes, he's going to be one to watch in race number 2. But De Bono at the moment, he's led majority of the laps of this race. The only one he didn't lead was when Jamie Davis jumped the race start and jumped about 6 cars off the start line. So De Bono's been ultra dominant thus far. He has got a 1.9 second gap over David Gallo and Daniel Byrne, a bit further back from him for the top 3. Sinise, though, is on the hunt for his podium here. Levin has had a great debut thus far. He's up 3 spots and into the top 5 as well, Hutto. So he's taken to this open wheeler quite nicely.
Yeah, fantastic fantastic debut by Levin. Hopefully he continues this form on to the next race, the feature race, the 40-minute feature. And hopefully he just settles in nicely and they can really push into the second race.
So we have really danced on the tightrope of safety cars getting called in race 1. I mean, there's been quite a few incidents self-inflicted, but also quite a few incidents between a couple of drivers out here as well. I have a feeling that race 2, we could see some spice and we could see some safety cars out there, because with that top 10 reversed, a couple of those drivers we wanted to try and push their way through the 10, but I actually think the safety car is going to come from some drivers who may have had a poor race 1, trying to force their way through the field at the back of the field in some of those AMs, some of the Pro-Ams as well.
And we say that time and time again, Hamish. It's not so much about how quick you are, it's also about race management. And we see plenty of times where a pro will be trying to push through the field, and because they're not directly racing against, say, the AMs who have a different brake marker, they just get caught out in those little instances where AM's just going to pull up a little bit shy, and they just get caught out, and unfortunately sometimes have rear ends, or they have to, take avoiding action and run off the road. So, look, race management is another factor of these feature races, of these 40-minute features after a sprint, especially for those who have gone, not got the result in race 1. I think this second race is going to be much like the first. I'm only going to call the one safety car. I think I saw Steph in the comments section just before. She was saying there was going to be 3 all evening. So, Hamish, how many do you think we're going to get?
I'm tentative to agree with you on the 1. But I can also see a world where we get 2. And I think if we get 2, we're going to get it right at the start. There's going to be a big bingle up at maybe turn 1, 2. And then I think we're going to get one maybe around about the half an hour mark of the second race, where it could be just some drivers battling for position. They get a bit overlap, wrong spot on track, and they end up in the wall. So I'm going to say 2. I would not be surprised if there was 1. I don't think we'll get 3, though. I think 40 minutes, it's too short for us to get 3. minute 30 lap time. It's going to be a 3-minute safety car lap nearly. So I can't see where we get 3 in one race.
Yeah, I support your argument, Hamish, in the fact that you say we'll get an early safety car. If it's going to happen, I think it's the drivers that have gone back to a cold. They start on cold tyres, right? So well,
Davis, for example, he's back in P19, who's been very clean. But I think if there's anyone that's going to happen to, it'll be him or one of those other drivers around him further back in the field.
Do you reckon Davis will hit the front by lap 1 again?
I would hate to see it, because it was very unfortunate for it to happen to him in race 1, but. We're coming up towards the final corner, though. Dylan De Bono, who's been very, very dominant thus far this season, he's going to notch up another win this evening. He's taken a win every single round of the season, and he's only lost 1 race on the trot. De Bono wins once again at Navarra. Gallo P2. Byrne will make it a double Carlin's podium. Sinise was just off it with a P4. 11 on debut into the top 5. And at the final dying embers, it's a drag race for pole position in race number 2. Michelson and Keane separated by absolutely nothing. Michelson's gotten him at the line in a wild run home. All pros for the top 10. And Jack Michelson will have provisional pole for race number 2. What a run home.
How good was that, Hamish? There was a couple cars there going side by side. I think we had, Byrne and Sinise, Michelson and Keane. Look, if that's a taste of what we're getting in race 1, imagine what we're going to have in race 2, Hamish.
This was the moment. This was up at the final corner, so he chased him down over the last lap, sent it up the outside, carried the speed around, and then look at this, straight drag race for them up towards the line. He was on the gas probably a split second earlier than Keane was, and he got there by barely a whisper. That is a wild run. That's incredible.
And Keane was coming back too. He was getting that side draft to get back ahead of Michelson. If only the start-finish line was probably another 100 metres down the track, I reckon Keane would have got him.
Oh, it would have been very, very interesting how that could have worked out. The side draft was working for both of them in that sense. Race 1 has come to an end. We're going to have a slight little warm-up session coming your way, and then we'll have race number 2 on your screens as well. I mean, I think in this race, Hutto, we spoke about it. I think early safety car. I think it's going to come from a driver further back in the field. I don't think it's going to happen at the front end of town. But the question's going to be who. I feel like we've spoken at length about some drivers who've caused incidents prior. It'd be easy to call them the favourites, per se, to cause a safety car for us. But I don't know. I think anyone outside of the top 15 could easily just get a bit of overlap. With so many cars in the field, could easily get some overlap and just cause an absolute pile-up into turn 1.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's drivers in the field that are more prone to bring out a safety car event. Like, there's definitely drivers which seem to, I guess, get caught up in incidents, and that, like you said, they tend to be mid-pack towards the back as well. But there's no driver I can think of that's like, this drivers are more likely to cause a huge incident that'll be safety car worthy. So, look, if there's going to be a safety car, let it happen. I don't know who it's going to be. I hope we don't see one. I'd like to see it racing for another 40 minutes and have strategy actually play out, maybe be able to see that undercut come to fruition. But, let's see what happens, Hamish.
Matty Keane claiming blue flags cost him the pole position.
Ooh.
Well, it was Greg Johnston who they were coming past, so, I would say take it up with race control, see what they say about it, but
that's
happens.
The thing.
It's racing.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, like I said, management of the field. Again, like, you've got to manage your race. You will come up against drivers that are somewhat slower. They're doing their best to to just stay out of your way, perhaps sometimes if they are letting you through. But look, it's just one of those unfortunate events that happens from time to time. I'm sure.
Well, there's not much that they can do about it. Matty's saying only a warning for costly pole. There's not much they can do about it. They can't take the pole off Michelson because it's an automatic top 10 reverse. They can't give you the pole without changing sessions. And you had the ability to defend him for it. Michelson sent it on the outside. He took the pass clean and sober. It wasn't like a lap car held Matty up into the final corner and then Michelson snuck through. He had to race him for it through the final corner and up to the line. I mean,
Yeah, I
happens,
think
it's racing.
what did I see last week? There was a car that was going slow over the start-finish line, and then one of the cars that lost it. I think it was at the end of qualifying or something like that. I think it actually involved Caldwell as they're coming over the finish line. Oh, that's right. It was the amateur win. Caldwell and I forget the other driver's name, but they were approaching a slow-moving DFR car.
Yeah.
I think it may have been
That's right.
on the start-finish line, and I would have done the exact same thing that Caldwell did. You shadow your opponent behind you all the way until that slow cars, and then you just pull out at the last minute. Like it's, people are going to be like, oh, it's not sportsmanlike, but look, any driver that's trying to get an advantage would do that nine times out of 10.
Nothing is sportsmanlike. It's not a gentleman's sport. It's racing.
Well, you look at how much the F1
David
drivers...
Simmons has said it perfectly. It's Matt's responsibility to pass the blue flag car safely. The rule states it's not up to the blue flag car to move over for you and let you pass. That's a gentlemanly agreement from drivers if they're willing to do that. The rule for a blue flag is if you go for the move, they cannot defend it. So unless Greg was defending you for that position, there's nothing race control can do about it because he hasn't broken the blue flag rule. He does not have to move out of your way. He just has to not defend the position or make it as easy as possible. Like if you're going to go for a pass on a blue flag car, the blue flag car just hangs it out wide and lets you down the inside. Like that's what the rule states.
Yeah. Oh well, moving on from that one, Hamish.
It's racing. It's racing. We've got race 2 coming our way, which could be quite an absolute barn burner. That race had some great battles, not just at the front of the field, but even throughout the mid pack, which we gave a lot of screen time to the mid pack that race actually because there was some awesome battles, but there was a lot of self spins out there, a lot of moments for some drivers as well. And I think it's going to be quite interesting how some of these drivers do hit it. I mean, Dixon, he had a great comeback in that race. He went up 11 spots after a poor qualifying to get inside the top 15. Davis had an unfortunate early black flag for jumping the start, but he came back as well. He finished not too far off the back of Dixon. So there's a big chunk of pros in the middle of the field, which could be hungry to make up positions early. There's some fast boys at the back end of the top 10 who want to try and make up positions early, and there's some fast boys at the top end of town who will not want to give up their podium positions so easily. So we could be in for something quite interesting, but also quite an absolute spectacle in terms of a race for us.
Yeah, and that, like you said, Hamish, I think you just touched on it, but that pro field or that pro class is really starting to, I guess, like beef up, it just gets fatter and fatter. Like the talent pool is getting bigger, and look, like you look up and down that list, and any one of those drivers could win tonight, and most of them have already won a race at some stage here at SRW. So, look, nothing's out of the question for race 2. Who's going to win? Actually, let's have a quick prediction, shall we, Hamish?
Jack
Who's got it in
Michelson.
him? Michelson.
Yeah.
I'm going Sinise. Let's go Sinise for a...
I like it. I picked Sinise to win last week. He didn't pull it off for me, but I don't hate it. I do not hate picking Sinise. But
We've probably got a better chance of picking the Melbourne Cup.
Wow. Someone won $750,000 for the Melbourne Cup yesterday, which is ridiculous. So, but starting grid for race number 2 will be as follows. The top 10 has been reversed off the finishing order of race number 1. So Jack Michelson to start pole position ahead of Scott Pocock, Doug Gowans, Thomas Donoghue for the for the second row, Danny Davidson, Brandon Levin for the top 6, Giuliano Sinise, Daniel Byrne for the top 8, David Gallo, Dylan DeBono for the top 10. Matty Keane, Darren Fahey will start how they finish the last race, P11 and P12, with Jason Depp, Jay Dixon, Trent Allen, Pete Ziedler for the top 16, Adrian Loretti, Sam Katakazinas, and Jamie Davis and Ben Brook will make up the top 20 cars, with Nick Martin, Andrew Rushworth, Keegan Caldwell, and Dan Bardish making up the top 24. Josh King, Callum Rosanita, Shane Ratcliffe, Miguel Creswell make up the top 28, with Dean Singovich and Nathan Verney on the 15th row. Andrew Cowan, Matt Tesseriero, Nick Schmallenberg, Tyler Sheaf, and Tyson McAvoy make up the top 35 cars, with Greg Johnston, Timothy Schmallenberg, Kevin Wakefield, Mitch Noble, Johnny Rowe, and Brent Wassell, I should say, I need to fix his name, making up the top 41 cars on the grid this evening. Phil Vella has said Keegan Caldwell for his prediction.
The win. Ooh, and we have Simmons going Donoghue. Yeah, I can see perhaps not so much Vella's prediction of getting Caldwell, but yeah, Donoghue's definitely, he's up there. He's been there and abouts plenty of times before. We could also see a maiden victory for Brandon Levin. He's sitting in 6th position right now. Had a strong showing in the first race. So, yeah, let's see what this next 40 minutes has in store for us, Hamish.
Well, there's plenty of racing to come for us here in race number 2, ladies and gentlemen. Jackal's in the chat heard the giraffe on pole has to duck to make it under the bridge on the start of the race. For those who don't know of our inside joke, Jack Michelson is colloquially known as the giraffe, as he has a very long neck, Hutto, and he's a tall man of 6'4". He's the same height as me, but he has a very lengthened neck. So, yeah, he is known as the giraffe. This will be the first time we'd have a giraffe win here on Wednesday nights if Jack Michelson were to win. But he joined the growing winners list as well if it were to happen. There are only a couple of top 10 drivers who have not won a race in this series. Those include Jack Michelson, Tom Donoghue, Brendan Levin and Giuliano Sinise. Lights are up though for race 2. Levin has missed the start grid of this race. We are go for race number 2. So all of a sudden, the prediction of possibly Brandon Levin having a strong run goes away as he has to start from the pit lane as we rocket through turn number 1. It's been a good start from Michelson and from Pocock. Let's check out how they go. Oh, it's a tight run into there.
It's going to get tight there.
Oh my God, it's very, very tight for the hairpin. A heap of cars just swarming around like a bunch of ants at the back end of the field, but Michelson and Pocock have done well off the start to break away from Danny Davidson. Thomas Donoghue's P4 at the moment hasn't moved. Gowans has lost out on the start. Sinise, Byrne and DeBona all up one. Gallows back where he started as Loretti and Davis are off the circuit. Need to be careful of the rejoin, but they've got to find a lane that they can move into. They managed to get there somehow. Oh my God, I feel like it's going to be pure chaos and pure hold your breath moments for the complete start of this race until we get into a rhythm, Hutto, with such a big field out there.
Yeah, open exchanging, quite tense at the moment. A lot of drivers sticking their neck out there. See what I did there? Oh. And yeah, and yeah, I guess that shot, that hairpin, what a good shot that was. I think that was Blimp you using there. That overview, seeing the whole field just snake their way around that corner. It was poetry in motion.
Well, there's a lot of cars tightening up towards the back end of the pack, but the front runners have started to spread now towards the start-finish line. Michelson leads to Pocock, Davison, Donoghue for the top 4. Gowans inside the top 5. Sinise, Byrne to Bono for the top 8. Gallo and Matt Keane is inside the top 10. Darren Fahey's up 1 as well. Biggest loser off the race start thus far. Well, it's obviously Brandon Levin, who missed the grid, started from pit lane, and unfortunately is now down 28 positions and has all the work to be done in this one if he hopes to make it back up towards the top 10 to get a solid chunk of points for himself here tonight. Further up from them, though, we have got some movers and shakers at the moment. Sheafy and McAvoy battling in through turn 1 and in towards turn 2. McAvoy somehow keeps the position over Sheafy at this stage. Further up from them, Rosenita's in behind King ahead of Rushworth at the moment. There's battles happening everywhere. Nick Martin's done well on debut. He's up 7 spots in this race, Hutto, so he could be on for quite an exciting finish here tonight if he manages to keep it clean for 40 minutes.
Yeah, I guess the newcomers are settling in quite quickly to the racing. Unfortunately for Trent Allen having not taken to the track just thus far. But it was interesting to say a missed start for Brandon Levin. I did see a number of cars starting from the pit lane, so I wonder if that was a hazard prevention type tactic, or if they were slapped on the wrist.
If that was hazard prevention for Levin, that is the worst piece of strategy play I think I've ever seen someone do. You start inside the top 10 and you decide, I'm just going to start for the lane. I mean, why not? Just give up 28 positions off the race start.
Who goes round?
Oh, Rosenita's around. So he needs to be careful finding his way through here. Very stoic.
Perhaps the cold tyres still catching a few drivers out there, Hamish.
Yeah, quite possibly. This is our running on at the moment. Trent Allen is out of this race. He hasn't started. As Greggy Johnston's had a big moment as well down at the final corner. And the look of disappointment on him.
I think that's Cowie as well.
Yeah, he is not happy with that one. Cowie's possibly been involved here.
Oh, the gloves are off.
Yeah, gloves are off for Greg Johnston. So that's unfortunate. He may be calling for a tow. This could be that early safety car that we called for, Hutto. as Cowie is rocketing up through the field once again, but he's down 8 spots off this race start. As Johnston move, he hasn't. He's still parked there on the final corner. This could it could be a safety car. He's in a dangerous spot.
On the other side of the tyres there, Hamish. But anyway,
he's inside the track. He's technically inside the track, so he's not on the other side of the tyres, but he's on the other side of the gravel trap pretty much. So
right, yes. But I guess Cowie be finding it hard out there. Is that who we've got in the second screen there?
That was Cowie.
No nose. There'll be an absolute lack of downforce. So he'd probably be finding he'd be getting a little bit more top speed, perhaps. Probably not at the top end.
Yeah, but not corner speed as well. So he'd be struggling through corners.
Yeah, you see he's just running wide. He's not making those misses another AP. Oh, almost got there. But yes, he'd probably just be trying to get it back to pits, get a new nose and head back out and try and pick up some spots where he can.
Well, Keegan Caldwell has just dropped a couple of spots at the final corner. Dan Bardish is blinking like mad, apparently. Scott Pocock has now taken the lead of this race from Jack Michelson. Danny Davidson's right there as well. We'll keep the camera on Cowie for the moment to see how he tracks without a front end.
Runs wide.
Yeah, it's a real struggle for him as Caldwell's had a moment. He spun it round at turn 2. Drivers having to take evasive action at this stage. And he's missing a rear wing. No, he's going to have to pit and get that thing fixed up. There's a car on its roof. That's Ben Brook. That's Ben Brooks. I reckon they've tangled.
That's gonna be a safety car.
Oh, surely it's going to be a safety car. This is what happened with Caldwell and Brook. On board with Caldwell. So there's Brook on his inside.
Oh, blinking by Bartush there.
Oh, okay, so that's how he lost his wing. And then that was Brook in behind him and ending up off the road. So what's happened? Oh. So he's just sort of clipped him as he's then gone round. As Cowie is really having to work that wheel at the moment. He's really having to work that wheel. And yeah, I agree with you. I think safety car's surely got to be called. He's been allowed to tow back. What the hell, Husey? That was definitely a safety car. Where he's on his roof. Why is the safety car not called?
Oh, perhaps he got the marshals to push him back on track and away we went.
I don't know. But it appears that Jack Michelson's also had a moment because he's now dropped down outside the top 10. So what has happened to him through all of this? Yeah, it looked like a netcode, Phil, to be honest. It didn't really look like anything. So he got back past Scott Pocock. Oh, it's a self-spin.
That back end.
Oh, back end is catching a lot of people up. Oh, yeah, it has been. And that's cost him quite a few spots. And he will be swearing quite ferociously, I'm sure, in his rig at the moment. Adrian Loretti, he's doing quite well for himself. He's back in P18 at the moment. But Danny Davidson has taken the lead of this race. We've got Loretti's camera in the bottom corner, just tracking how he's going. Davidson's got Donahue and Pocock in behind. Loretti's in a battle with his teammate Jay Dixon, and Shane Ratcliffe in behind him at this stage as well.
Yeah, early exchanges have thrown up a few little incident. Who's that that's gone around?
Why hasn't Caldwell pitted?
He probably doesn't realise he doesn't have a rear wing.
Well, let's see. Let's see if he would realise or not. This is on a single screen, mind you, not chase. Where's cockpit cam?
Cockpit. You'd feel it after going around several times. He's now dropped a plethora of spots.
Okay, well, he's not, and actually, no, he's in VR. He would know he doesn't have a rear wing because he can just look in his mirror.
Oh, that was a big checkup. Who was that? Already having almost
I think that might have been Michelson, possibly. He lost a spot to Dixon, so it's happening everywhere, but no safety car has been called just yet. Drivers have been having moments all over the circuit. Dan Bartish was one of them. We know that he was blinking quite poorly. Actually, no, he came into pit lane.
Yeah, I think that's a thing that race control do. If they're just blinking a little bit too hard, they'll send them through the pit lane to try and get them out of the rotation of the pack, trying to give a bit more space to the drivers so they can still race. But oh yeah, that's blinking like nothing.
Yeah, I think unfortunately Dan Bartish may just have to pull out of this race because that's unfortunate. Tyson McAvoy's had a self-spin down at turn 2, carried a lot of speed through there. It was very ambitious of Mr. McAvoy. And then Callum Roseneder as well is also struggling. I reckon he might have hurt his rears after having a couple of spins. What's happened with Roseneder?
Once you spin, it really takes a couple laps to get those tyres to behave afterwards. So, look, and as soon as those next couple of corners are probably the hardest after you've had a spin, because the tyres are red hot and they don't want to stick to the ground whatsoever. So, yeah, I guess a safety car would have been handy for a handful of drivers had they had a few hot tyres. But anyway, play on.
I think one thing, though, that may actually catch out a lot of drivers tonight is the incident points, because there's been a lot of self-spins happening, and being that it's twice as long as race number 1, those who have been plagued with off-tracks and with spins in this race could very well see themselves up at that 17x limit by the end of the race.
There by Byrne.
Yeah, Mr. Byrne, or Mr. Gallo actually, possibly, because De Bono's just gotten past him, so...
But like you said, Hamish, there's only 17 incident points that the drivers can afford to use tonight before they incur a drive-through penalty. And in saying that, this track does lend itself, there's lots of space out wide, which is good, so we don't see, hopefully, not as many incidents. But we may see drivers, take liberties and going a little bit wider than usual and maybe racking up a few more off-tracks. So I think it might actually catch a few drivers out this evening, Hamish.
Yeah, I agree, as De Bono's having a slight little blink for himself. Appears that Greg Johnson's out of this race, unfortunately. He's called it on this one. Sam Katakazinis is off the road at turn 2. Is that turn 2? Yes, it is. That turn 2 is catching a lot of drivers out tonight, Hutto, with those self-spins. As Pete Ziedler's now had one as well, down at turn 3. So it is really catching them out at this stage.
Yeah, probably a bit of overconfidence from race 1. They've gotten used to the track and the setup through race 1 and expecting the same sort of grip levels. But, colder tyres, even though it's lap 7, the tyres should be nice and warm. And who's...
De Bono's on his lid!
Oh, that's going to have to be a safety car. That has to be a safety car.
He's on the road. This has to be a safety car.
Well, another car just crashed into him. There we go. McCartan's over the radio now. So, will we see drivers pit? What are we? 11 minutes in. It takes going to last 25 minutes. Oh, it's going to be tight.
He went for a late dive on Byrne. Oh my God! Then he net coded himself. Wait, what? That net code though.
It's like he dived like a soccer player. It's like he touched me on the shoulder. Ooh, away he went.
So he went for it up the inside.
Oh, he
spun, and then hello.
Yeah, because that happens. God.
Oh my God. Well, you've got to feel for De Bono. He's taken a win tonight, but it's now almost as unlikely as ever. He's been allowed to tow back. What is happening with the safety car tonight?
Oh, I'm not sure. I wonder if we've got the personnel upstairs in your race control. We might be short a few bodies. Who knows?
Where is Leakey? Why is he not on track?
An odd one. Anyway, we continue racing. I wonder if has Corbell come in to get his wing fixed yet? He is up
okay, safety car's out there now. So now they've called the safety car. Okay. So they've now called the safety car. De Bono's in pit lane.
The entire field is in. I still think... 15-minute mark, 25 minutes.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's a free pit stop. Might as well.
Yeah, they should be able to get home. And I think, unfortunately, this has just absolutely neutralised any sort of race strategy that anyone hoped to or wanted. But Donahoe's jumped Davis into the pits. Good move.
So it hasn't neutralised any strategy. Donahue's gone for slightly less fuel.
Oh, I guess now it'll be up to
Donahoe.
Donahoe.
He's gone for 3 seconds less fuel than Davison did, so...
Well, he's going to have to save the entire way and try and battle his way through, because there's... You look at the guys sitting behind him, Davison, Pocock, Gowan's, Face, and Eze. No slouches. They're going to be chasing Donahoe hard. And I guess, Donahoe's not afraid of putting out the gamble. We saw that back in Kota. I think he stayed out one lap too long. He just didn't pit under the safety car when the rest of the field took fuel. So we'll see if this gamble pays off for Donahoe.
So Steph Piccoli's now retracted her previous statement. She's now said, don't know if RC is goated tonight. Well, Adam Hughes normally claims that they are goated, but that was very questionable. Very questionable. Very Interlagos red flag calling after 40 seconds-esque.
What an event. That was a good race, actually, Hamish. Like, I know we're going to change tack here, but yeah, that F1 race had everything. The whole weekend, it had the rain, it had, Verstappen coming from P17. It reminds me much of Lewis Hamilton's race back in, was it 2021, where they built in an absolute rocket ship for Hamilton to go from essentially the back of the pack to win that one as well. So, yeah, Interlagos, quickly edging its place in my memory, Hamish.
Well, I reckon, I didn't watch the race back, I watched the qualifying. Qualifying was quite exciting. I think
if you like the colour red, yes.
Well, yeah, if you like the colour red. But, like, this race now, we're 15 minutes into it, probably go racing at 17 minutes into the race. There's a couple of wave rounds to happen. Number one, does De Bono get his wave around? I don't know if he does, because they might classify him as causing the safety car.
I don't know. Did they allow him to tow before they called the safety car?
He towed before the safety car was called.
Oh, so he might get a slap on the wrist here, and yeah.
I don't know if he towed or if they gave him permission, because I can't hear race control in my ear.
That's true, but he'll have to serve that. Otherwise, this is assuming that he's not been given permission. If he doesn't serve that this round, that'll carry over to the next round. So
okay, so De Bono crashed. The Leakey jumped to pits, so the safety car was in pits, and then it doesn't have anything about De Bono actually towing back. So, oh no, and then he tows back lap 7. So he had towed back. It must have put him out of. It's either found him in the shadow realm because he was on his lid and it's auto towed him, or that's then when it's classified that he's jumped to pits. So he shouldn't get a penalty. He won't get a wave around. So he'll need another safety car now, and he'll probably need it in the next 5 minutes. Because I don't see a world, no matter how strong he's been this season, I don't see a world where De Bono can come from P38 and a lap down to winning this race now.
No, I think the best we've seen is, I think we've seen two drivers
We've seen Vela go from the back to P3, but he never went a lap down.
Correct. Yeah, I don't think we've seen anyone come from as far back as, say, 38. I think De Bono just takes this as an L this week, moves on to next week. Look, there's 4 more weeks of racing. He's got a healthy 43-point lead. Actually would have gone up a little bit more with that first race.
Imagine having to take a drop round where you've actually won a race.
Yeah, a bit of a kick in the teeth, isn't it?
I know. So Katakizinis gets his wave around now. Bartish might get his wave. Bella's calling P2. Maybe you can go P2. Maybe not P1. Bartish should get a wave around as well. De Bono will not. Brooke will.
Sorry to interrupt. Has Dean Sinkovic pitted? He's finding himself up in P9 at the moment, Hamish.
No, he hasn't. So Sinker and Schmalenberg have not pitted. So that's a free position for a lot of drivers in the field.
Well, that's assuming there's no more safety cars, but I don't see the tank lasting the full 40 minutes. No. We would have had to have had a safety car at the start, a safety car now.
Why hasn't Bartish come past safety car? He should have a wave around. So should Brooke. Well, if they haven't come round, they've waived their right to a wave around, unless Stefan's only just called them past. I'm not sure, but.
Well, we saw a handful of drivers just checking up there around those drivers. So. We'll see.
RC do an incredible job, though. I mean, it's a very, very difficult thing to do RC. I had the pleasure of being race director for a GR86 race a couple of weeks ago. And it's tough, especially under safety car. You're absolutely scrambling to not only review incidents, but also fulfill the safety car procedure. And when it's a 40-minute race, it runs by so quickly.
Absolutely. I've also had that experience, Hamish, of race controlling with the GR86s. I think it was a super sprint, that one. And where was it? I think, is it Lebanon? It's very up and down sort of track. And yes, interesting time.
So apparently Jack Michelson has been drilled under the safety car and now has a meatball.
Ooh, I wonder if he's got nose-to-rear contact, perhaps.
This will be why. So there was a big checkup from a lot of drivers. So here's Depp. Where's Michelson? There he is there. He had Bartish ahead of him, who's supposed to have a wave around. Why has he not been waved around yet? I have no idea.
Here comes the checkup.
Okay, no. So he stopped. So he stopped on the road. Oh, he has another one. It's with Josh King. So we'll follow this around. It's actually with Josh King. So he's gone out of line to just try and keep
Yeah,
himself
avoid
in
Bartish,
check.
as you would.
Because Bartish is supposed to be waved around, and he hasn't come round. So where has their incident happened with Josh King? Because there's a couple of little packs of drivers who have a bit of nose to tail. So they come up around turn 3. He pulls it up. Oh, yeah, King gets pushed by his own teammate.
Yeah, I think we were talking at that time, and I said, a few drivers checking up, and that would have been that instance. So
yeah,
that's unfortunate for Michelson, having started on pole.
He'll have to now use his fast repair, unfortunately, and he'll have to wait for the pit lane to open as well. So he probably, realistically, he should have actually waited for the restart, because he probably wouldn't have dropped as many positions. If he'd waited for the lap that the safety car came in, he wouldn't drop as many positions, and the pit exit would not be closed.
Perhaps, but we'll see that if the offending driver, if it is King, they deem him guilty, because he'll imagine take the drive-through as soon as possible.
Apparently, pit lane hasn't closed, but even if race control do not announce the pit lane is closed, the pit exit is closed. Like, even if they forget to announce it, it's always closed. It doesn't matter if they announce it or not.
The pit lane is always open. Pit entry is open. You can come in and sit in the pits if you want. You just can't leave.
Yeah.
Until race control gives you the all clear.
So Michelson's come out P15, so he's actually probably going to get a penalty now, because pit exit is always considered closed under safety car until the last car in the train comes past, which is, as Dan Bartish comes in the lane, he has now given up his opportunity for a wave around. Apparently not, was argued last week.
Well, hopefully we'll see the safety car come in this lap. We have just under 20 minutes remaining on the clock of racing available to us.
If that's happened, Michelson's come out ahead of Josh King again, so he's come out back where he was. He hasn't actually lost anything. And that then, that makes me think then, should have come in on the restart lap.
I guess
because you'd never have the overhead question of is the pit lane exit closed, and you're not going to give up anything to do that. If the cars, and you're going at a slow pace, and the car's moving. Oh, McAvoy also did it in game spots. If Tyson did it, then I'd say fair play, because he should know the rule book then. So fair enough.
But look, I guess you try and take those advantages if race control. I'm not saying do it, because I think it's very unsportsmanlike. If race control doesn't close the pit exit, why wouldn't you? Try and get as much of an advantage as possible. So, yeah, I personally would frown upon, but yeah, those who want to do it, you try your luck, see how you go.
But he gave so RC agreed with him giving up the positions that he would have gained through the pit lane. So Michelson has slotted back into where he was. So instead of challenging the thing of, was he at the control line first, he's just slotted back into where he was before he came into pits. So that's pretty fair.
Well, safety car is in, Hamish, so we'll be getting racing very soon.
We will be. We'll be getting racing very, very shortly. We're at the halfway point of this race. Thomas Donoghue leads the way. Danny Davidson, P2. Scott Pocock in P3. I've had the real bad cough today. It's been very warm in Victoria. No, he's going to hold him to the line.
He's going to hold him.
He's holding him all the way.
It's going to cause chaos.
It will. It caused chaos here in the 8.6s. It's going to do it for the SFLs. He's now gone on the main straight. We're under green once again here at Navarra. Great start from Donoghue. It's caught a lot of drivers out further back in the field. Look at them spreading out down towards turn number 1 as we rocket on through. But it was a great start from the front pack, but further back they are spreading like butter.
Oh, so check up. There we go. There's someone around.
Yeah, it's Sinise.
That's going to be a big one. That's going to be a big one.
Oh, this could be another safety car. Could be a lifeline for De Bono.
Who's that on his lid? That's a DFR car.
It is.
It's Dixon.
Of course, we're getting blinking. Thanks, 41 cars, and thanks for having a crash on the restart lap. Really appreciate it. Highly appreciate it.
That was a big spill, I guess.
Yeah.
We did anticipate that. That's, the one spot where a lot of drivers are going to come in and, having been under the safety car for 3 laps, those tyres would have gotten just a little bit cooler, so probably catching out a few drivers there, Hamish.
So if the safety car gets called, this is now one hell of a lifeline for Dylan De Bono. He'll get his lap back. He'll probably gain some spots from drivers having to go into the pits.
I don't think they will call the safety car because I think RC are reluctant to call it straight after after a safety car has just been called in because, you know, in the spirit of racing. But they're going slow. Perhaps they have called it.
Dixon's back on his wheels somehow.
Oh, that's a very wonky car.
Bardish is still blinking off the road. I don't know if they know what they're doing. Depp's in pit lane. Michelson's in pit lane.
I think a safety car's out because Donahoe's going slow.
It is out.
Yep.
So the lifeline
I
has
ate my
been
words
issued.
then.
We have two.
So Steph, Steph's prediction of 3 safety cars could be on here.
It could. It could be on. So safety car's back out there. Oh, this has really thrown a spanner in the works because Dean Sinkovich is still not pitted. And he's still P1 of the ends. No, he's on track. Oh my God. And all of a sudden, this now brings into consideration as well those incident points that I mentioned, Hutto. Because there's been some big stacks the last couple of laps and some big off tracks as well. We could be in for one hell of a wild run to the end of this race. We could also be in for one where drivers have to be cautious to not get an iRacing black flag because it will not be cleared by iRacing or by race control if it is deemed not race control's fault. So unless they were to cause you to get off tracks, they're not going to clear the black flag.
I guess, this little safety car period, we've seen a little bit of an order jumble just now. Dean Sinkovich in P7, Matty Keane in P8, another good performance from him. Ratcliffe P10, Josh King and Nick Schmalenberg sitting P11 and 12 and 2 and 3 in the amateurs. So it would be interesting to see how they go off the restart. Hamish, you know, a lot of talent sitting right behind both those drivers.
Nick Martin also on debut inside the top 10 as well, Hutto. That the top 6 cars, aside from Donohue, are all former previous race winners.
Well, we may have our be a maiden victory for Donohoe. It'd have to be, I think. I'll have to definitely check the stats. I'll get back to you on that one, Hamish.
We did have a prediction for someone said that Tom Donohue could win this race, so that would be one hell of a run if they were to get that right. Dylan DeBono is going to get his wave around this lap. Couple of other drivers. Oh, this completely changes the game now. Completely changes the game.
Yeah, if Donohoe wins tonight, this is Donohoe's maiden victory. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess we've got
what's our
15
pick on
more
the
minutes? 14 more minutes?
Does he go? Oh, yeah, this is a good point by Phil Vella. What's our pick on the restart? Does he go early? Or is he running all the way to the line? I reckon he goes on the apex of the last corner. Catches Davison out.
Yeah, you go early. But I guess it just depends really where Davison is. If Davison's on his hammer, then you could, perhaps afford to take it to the line. Because he got a bit of a jump there on the restart. But the problem is when drivers do sometimes take it all the way to the line and the start-finish line is all the way down the other end, is further back in the pack, they all anticipate the jump is going to happen.
He might actually go long, though, to save some fuel. Because remember, he took a slightly shorter stop.
You're right. Well, this actually really plays in Donohoe's hands now. Like, we always thought he'd have to save for the rest of the race, but this has given him an absolute free kick. So the fuel strategy is out the window for the entire field now. Everyone should be able to get home. Perhaps Sinkovich. Let's see how Sinkovich goes. He hasn't pitted at all just yet.
He hasn't. Oh, this has really changed it up. David asking, will I win a pair of gloves to pick the winner? Unfortunately not, David. We were not given the go-ahead from Sinker to do giveaways tonight. And it would have been probably a trivia question that we would have asked you to win the gloves, unfortunately. But it means you don't want to miss a show because you might have the opportunity of winning something if we do announce we're giving something away. So unfortunately, you don't win it at this time. But if Donohue does win, that's one hell of a prediction to pull. I mean, out of 40 cars to pick the winner, that's pretty strong going.
Yeah, all we've got to give away is our love and admiration. So that's all we got here
A
upstairs.
firm handshake and some pocket sand. That's all I can offer you.
Very good. So I guess we're midway through the season, Hamish. We've seen DeBono is probably going to take this as a drop round, having suffered an incident. Matty Keane still flying high, P8 for the Pro-Ams. Where's Peter Ziedler in all this? He's down the back.
Yeah, he's back in the field.
P32, so probably not his greatest
Well,
this may be a
what
drop
would
round
be
for him as well.
important now, right? So Keegan Caldwell, for example, P35, this should be a drop round. The rest of the AMs need to make sure that they consolidate where they are on field and gain points on him.
Correct.
Because if he has a worse round or he misses a round, you want to force him to have to take this round, and you maximise your points over it. So right now, Dean Sinkovic, he's in the hot seat to really gain over Keegan. If for whatever reason by the end of the season, Keegan has to take this round as a non-droppable round because he misses a round after this week.
So, look, I guess more safety cars just pulled away now, so hopefully see the resumption of racing. But yeah, I guess we'll see, perhaps a little bit of movement on the ladders after this race is done, Hamish.
I don't think it'll be a little bit. I think it'll be a lot. I mean, there'll be a lot of movement, to be honest with you, Hutto. I think, aside from the pros, I think the pro-AMs and the AMs are really going to get shaken up now.
Because what? So Kevin Wakefield sits in P2, 136 points behind Caldwell. So, look, there's not 136 worth of points as we stand. Dean Sinkovic stands to profit the highest. He's almost 160 points, 159 behind Caldwell. So he'll be looking to make up a good handful of points. Cowie come unstuck early, but I think he's managed to make his way. As I look up and down the timing table,
yeah, he's up into P24, so he's gaining.
P24.
He's gaining. There's Keegan P35, so that's 11 spots. He's gaining 33 points.
Jordan Ferguson is the next driver down. Nick
bloody
Schmalenberg, they're 191, 192 points behind, as well as we've gone racing again, Hamish.
We have, so he's gone slightly earlier this time. He's immediately gone to the right-hand side of circuit. He's used both of his moves, but he's done it in a way that he has actually started to gap Danny Davidson down towards turn number 1. Do we have a clean run through here, or we have drivers pushing a bit too early? Once again, Pocock's lost it at turn 2, and he's off the road. So he now drops out of the top 2, or top 3, I should say. He slots in between Sinkovic and Matty Keane. Vernie's also off the road as well. Where is he? There he is, right there. So the Tron car makes through. We look pretty neat and tidy off this restart. I think some of the drivers... Donahue! Oh, no. I think that might be Nick Martin as well. The debutante's off the road.
Everyone's going off. What's going on here?
Everyone's going off. Oh, look at that. It's a Schmalenberger bomber.
Another
off the road.
Is someone parked up at the entrance? What is going on? Everyone's going
David
everywhere.
Simmons has found where he puts his oil on the road, and it's down there at the bottom of the hill. Unfortunately, he's cost himself because the person who he picked to win the race has gone off the track, and now a heap of drivers have dropped spots. The big gainer out of all this, Dylan Zabono's back up into P26.
What a free kick.
Yeah, that is as pure as a 50-metre penalty on grand final day right there. I mean, that is a big up for Dylan DeBono. Unfortunately, Keegan Caldwell hasn't taken advantage of it. He's still further down the order. Dean Sinkovic is in the top 5 of this race.
When was the last time you heard that?
I know. Phil Vella saying that. Yeah, I know. Phil Vella saying Danny Davidson wins these, though. He does. At this point, Davison P1, Gowans. I mean, we've seen Gowans pull a Bradbury before. In these situations with 8 minutes left, you cannot look past Danny Davidson at this point. We know he's quick. We know he's consistent. You cannot look past him.
Well, he'll be looking to check out now. He's got a 1.3 second buffer back to Gowans. Gowans will be looking to hold off the likes of Gallo and Byrne, the Carlin's outfit guys. So, look, this really plays in Davison's hands, and the fact that he's got no pressure around him.
So DeBono's starting to make up spots. He's only a few more spots away from the top 20. Heap of cars in pit lane. Davison leads the way. Gowans, Gallo, Bernie behind. Sinkovic is inside the top 5.
Look at the train. He's
oh my
God.
Them all up. This would be a monumental AM victory for Dean Sinkovic. His first ever, if he were to pull this off. It'll be his first ever top 5 on the Wednesday nights as well. You cannot write these sorts of storylines. He's taken top 10s before, but never the class win. Never a top 5. He would finish ahead of the winner of the Pro-Ams as well, but I don't know if Sinkovic is going to battle those guys, knowing that he has nearly 18 positions between him and his teammate Josh King in P2 for the amateurs.
Oh, see, this is the beauty of, I guess, multi-class racing. Not multi-class racing, but like several classes within the one race. It just throws caution to the wind. A lot of drivers have to, deal with another facet of the race where they're not racing against, or they're just racing against people of a different caliber. So, look, this is very entertaining stuff, Hamish.
Price is saying don't jinx him. I'm not. I'm not a religious man, but I'm hoping and praying with all of my soul that Dean can pull this off, because this would be amazing. I mean, I've been calling for Dean to win a race for so long now, and it hasn't happened. And I feel like out of any of the AMs to take their first class win, he's #1 on my list at the moment to do so.
Yeah, and Phil Vella saying Dougie's just holding some strong pace just now. Yeah, and I've seen that time. I think early on we were saying it's 1.3, and I've seen that dip down to 1.2. It's kind of checked back out to 1.4. So I think it's almost in the three drivers behind him, their best interest to try and, I guess, almost work together to try and catch Davison. But I've got a feeling Davison's just going to be a little bit too quick for these three.
So at the moment, we've got some massive movers in this race. Apparently we've got cameras up. Oh my God, Jack. My mate Jack Anderson has joined the camera feed. He's told me to check that he has got his camera turned on, but he's not racing, so unfortunately he does not get on the stream. We've got 5 minutes to go. Danny Davidson leads. Doug Gowans, David Gallo, Daniel Byrne for the top 4. Dean Sinkovich is inside the top 5. Gallo and Gowans are battling for P2 on the road. Oh, it is a monumental moment in this race. I mean, how else could you couldn't write these sorts of storylines, Hutto. This race has absolutely turned it on. Michelson and Keane battling with Ratcliffe. We know the controversies of race 1 with Keane and Michelson. What a comeback this would be for the VRT driver to take a top 10 finish here this evening. But where do we look, Hutto? With 4 minutes left, where do we look?
I've got my eyes glued on Sinkovich's name. I'm just... I'd love to see it. I always, I guess, barrack for the underdog, wherever they are within the field. Look, if he can hold on for even a top 10, that's a very, very good effort from Sinkovich.
This will be a phenomenal effort from him. He's got... I mean, massive pressure in behind. He's got battles happening with Michelson, Keane, Ratcliffe, Davis and Sinise. They have gone round. They've had a moment together at the back end of the top 10. Steph Piccoli cheering on Andrew Rushworth. He's done well thus far. Where is he at the moment on track? He's in P13, so he's had a good run. Matt Tesseriero has just gotten a free position from Shane Ratcliffe after he's gone off the road as well. This has been a wild race. Absolutely wild, top to bottom. And I mean, and I've just noticed something as well, Hutto.
Go on.
Dylan DeBono's in the pit lane.
Oh, what's going on? I wonder if he's, probably not dealt with the track management or the, coming back through the field all that well.
So he was
That's
in
a
behind.
JWM car, I think.
Yeah, it is. You might be at fault for this, Hutto. Oh, DeBono. Oh, he just caught some curb.
Ooh,
Johnny Rowe had nowhere to go. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Oops, a daisy.
Yep, and I have to wonder if he's towed back. I'm not sure if he has. He has towed
Well,
back.
I guess, the pit entry was that. That's the other side of the corner
It's
as
on the
well.
other side, so Jack Michelson's now gotten past Dean Sinkovich. So Sinker, he's racing very smart, Hutto. He's not battling. He's just giving up positions. He's trying to consolidate this as best he can.
Well, he doesn't need to come first. He just needs to beat the rest of his class.
Exactly.
And his next opponent is his teammate in Joshua King. So
Back in P18, so if Keane gets past him, he's 10 spots up from him. I mean, why would you battle?
that's 30 points right there, bang. Like, that's a huge amount of points for Sinkovich.
Oh, Shane Ratcliffe's had a moment as well. He's back going again. So a lot of drivers struggling out there, possibly on old tyres. 2 minutes left in this race. 2 laps to go in the dying embers of Navarra. It is absolutely turned it on for us here out in Spain. I'm not going to lie, Hutto. It's gone to the top of my list for favourite Spanish tracks.
It's definitely been an entertaining race, and like like we compared it earlier to Portimao and other tracks of the like. These Spanish tracks, I think, they're quite entertaining for what we've seen here at SRW.
So Sinkers let Matty Keane past. His teammate Jamie Davis is now hot on his heels. Matt Tessierro's right there. Nick Martin Now battling with Andrew Rushworth for P11. Rushy does well to tuck it back up the inside, but Martin absolutely does him dirty. Sneaks back up the inside of him. What a debut it's been from Martin. What a race it's been, actually. We've got to call out here, not only from Tesseriero, but also Sinker. So Dean is up 21 spots. Tesseriero is up 22 positions and inside the top 10 at the moment, Hutto.
And I guess we've got to keep an eye on Dean Sinkovic's fuel tank levels as well. Will he be able to make it to the end? Because tank really lasts only 25 to 27 minutes. So he's now fighting the clock right now because
this will be
there's Davison on track. We've got, 30 seconds left in the race. So I think they might have to go one more lap as well.
They will. It'll be one more lap. This will be absolute heartbreak for him if he were to run out on the line. It would be pure out-and-out heartbreak for Dean Sinkovic. Danny Davison comes around the final corner. White flag lap. So through all the controversy and chaos and carnage of Navarra, Davison has managed to find his way to the top of the timing tower and will gain some crucial points and become only our third winner of the season thus far. There's only been two, Dylan DeBono and David Gallo. No, it was Daniel Byrne and Dylan DeBono.
In Road America.
Yeah, yeah. But DeBono did win a race tonight. So he has kept his run going of winning a race every single round. So that could, even though he will likely need to drop this round, that could pay him dividends this season if he can continue a run of winning a race per round.
Well, it's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, I mean, you think about how many sprint rounds have we got left in the season?
2 more after this.
Yeah, 2 more. So that's 2 opportunities to be the only winner and 2 other opportunities to be one of the winners. So if he does that, that would be an incredible run from him. But Davison, I mean, after Donohue's moment, he has controlled this race. It's been a typical end of race performance from Danny Davison. An incredible job. He always delivers when he gets put into the right position with only 10 or so minutes to go in a race. Brandon Levin's had a moment further back in the field. Dean Sinkovic, Matt Tesseriero, they're having a battle. Tesseriero's actually gone round, and he's on his lead as well. Not a way you want to end it. That'll be a headache for him. But round the final corner comes Danny Davison to win the feature race this evening out at Navarra. He becomes the 3rd winner this season. David Gallo and Daniel Byrne will make another Carlins Motorsport double podium. Doug Gowan's in the top 5. Donahue, Michelson for the top 6. Davis, Keane, Sinkovic is in the lane. Dean Sinkovic, what a play this could be to end the race in the pit lane.
It's the quickest way to the start-finish line.
This is an incredible strategy from Dean Sinkovic here. Where is Josh King? Josh King's not even going to be there. Sinker's going to get the win in the pit lane. What a move from him. The slowest win ever. Dean Sinkovic has won a race in the amateurs in the pit lane. Oh my God!
I don't think we've ever seen that before, Hamish. Someone go for the class win in the pit lane.
That is incredible.
It wasn't the quickest point, but it was the shortest point, shortest way to the line. So, yeah, big brain move from Sinkovic.
That is one of the biggest brain plays I have ever seen. I've done 267 broadcasts. That is the first time I have ever seen that happen. And that is extraordinary. Matt Keen's come home for another Pro-Am race win here this evening. The rest of the podium for the Pro-Ams was Rushworth P2, Cresbo P3. Josh King, Brent Wassell made up the top 3 for the AMs. But that's away pit, shortest run to the line, Steph. That was the shortest run to the line. He had never pit it. He never stopped for fuel in this race. And in fact, he could have gone to the line. He didn't have to do it in the pit lane. He's still going.
That's the thing. No, he's coughing. You can see that car's starting to jolt a little bit there. So he must have been running on absolute fumes, Hamish.
That was, if we don't see that as a short this week on the socials, Stephen has it out for his own brother, because that is one of the most incredible plays I've ever seen to end a race. That was incredible. That is strategy to its utmost. That is playing within the rules but stretching them to their maximum. Fair play to Dean.
If he now makes it to the pit on the cool-down lap, he would have had more than enough fuel to make it to the line.
That would have been a proper flex. Absolute proper flex. That was incredible. He's not even coughing. He could have done it. He didn't need to go into the pit lane. David Gallo's parked up for us on the line as well.
I think that is probably one of the first and last times we will see something like this, Hamish.
That was incredible. That was amazing. Amazing from Dean. And I know we're selling it hard and we try not to give favoritism, but honestly, this has been something that I've been calling to happen all of 2024. I've been saying all of 2024, this week's your week, Dean, you're going to win a race. And he hasn't done it. And this week, I didn't do it, and he wins. That was incredible. Unbelievable.
That was... I still don't believe what we've just seen. And he's made it back to the pit, so he had enough fuel.
What a flex.
It's mind-boggling why...
That's such a flex on the rest of the field to finish in the pit lane.
Because he was, what, he was P6, P7, I think, at the time?
Yeah.
Or P8, perhaps? And he still finished, what, P16 and, still 5 spots ahead of his teammate, Josh King, the next amateur in the field. So, look, yeah, I definitely wouldn't have done that. That's for sure, Hamish.
I'm forcing him in here right now. I'm dragging him out of the
Get him in.
lounge for a chat. Mr. Singovich, we've stolen you from the lounge.
Yes, mate.
Mate, congratulations. Number one on your first damn win in SFLs. And then number two, 267 broadcasts I've done, Dean. I've never seen someone win a class race doing a drive through the pit lane.
Well, you know what? I don't think I did win it, did I?
You did. You won.
You did. Hence why you're here.
You've won.
Someone else said there was 19.
19?
Sure, it's me.
Whose car 19?
Last corner, Tessario and myself had a bit of a mingle.
Matt Tessario, yeah, but you came through the lane. You won, Dean.
And I had to go, and I had to hold 55 seconds unsafe pit entry plus too many points. So maybe not.
Maybe the iRacing may adjust it afterwards, but from what we've got on our timing screen,
provisionally you're the winner.
I probably don't think I am, but I'll take it. Strategy worked anyway. Well, if prior to that corner, strategy was working well, so I didn't obviously pit at all. I saved fuel galore, and I thought I'd run the gauntlet, and it actually worked. So I guess I was a bit of a cork in a bottle for some of those fast guys near the end, and that was it was panic stations the last 3-4 laps.
Well, dragging your teammate Josh King, because he was P2 on the road. So Josh, so we have Dean in here as well, because Dean won the race on track, like on our timing, he's won. But because of his black flag that we didn't know about, you've won. So I hope you're happy with yourself. You took the win off Dean, who had been hoping to win a race for a long, long time.
Wasn't his fault.
Sorry, Dino.
Well,
you're all good, Josh. That wasn't your fault, mate. Too many incident points.
I thought you won it as well, but Jamie said that I won it. I'm like, I thought Dino won it. But,
I'm a little bit disappointed as well, because if Dean had won it, he would have won it in the most spectacular way possible by driving through the pit lane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I even got a hold for 55 seconds for unsafe pit entrance. So I was that peeved with the situation, but it happens. I too many incident points, and that's what happens. Bit of a tangle right there at the end, and that's the way it goes.
Well, Dean, I hope this makes you hungry to actually get the win again.
I'm going to go rock myself in the corner.
We're going to move you into the green room, Dean. Feel free to go back up to the lounge. But bad luck. Congratulations on winning on the road. You're the winner in our hearts. Best of luck next week.
I enjoyed every moment, so thanks,
I'm
boys.
glad we enjoyed
boys.
it too. Well, Josh, phenomenal effort from you. I mean, you put your car where you needed to, P2 on the road, but P1 in the classifications. I mean, what was the race like for you? Because from our point of view, it was pure chaos, purely hectic, and it felt like everyone was just having to avoid everything everywhere, but also avoiding themselves from actually losing the rear end of the car. How were you going out there on track tonight?
Oh, it was a very chaotic race. Thought I threw it away a couple of times, but here we are.
Yeah, I guess fantastic effort, Josh, on the road. I guess what was going through your mind on that second restart? I think it was you and Schmalenberg were quite up high in the pecking order, and then I guess falling back towards the middle of the pack there, sort of thing. So yeah, just take us through what was happening after that second restart for us.
That second restart, I was looking at top 10, but then unfortunately got a drive through for incident on the first safety car, but things happen, and on to the next one.
That's right, because it brought out the meatball for who was it again, Hamish? We were following at the time, but anyway, like you said, that's racing, and you take the good with the bad. You have a bad with the drive-through, and then all of a sudden you get P1 with your teammate accruing too many points and an unsafe pit entry. How do you react to that when something just falls in your lap, something so unexpectedly, Josh?
There's no words you can say. Dino, as you say, Dino's one in everyone's hearts. Just unfortunate circumstances.
And I guess, decent points for you tonight. One eye on the championship. Keegan Caldwell's been quite strong this season so far. Wasn't his best performance tonight. How does, I guess, SRW, or like your team, SRW Motorsports, and the rest of the AMs try and approach Caldwell, who seems to be a cut above so far?
Yeah, Caldwell is very quick, and he's got the pace to win it if he gives it a good crack. But won't let him run away with it or fight him for it.
Yeah, good. It's what we'd like to see. Well, I think we've seen just about every amateur championship come down to the final race or the final few laps for the past few seasons. So, yeah, Hamish, back to you, mate.
Well, Josh, a great run home for you. P2 on the road, as we mentioned, but after the results, you do get P1 here tonight. So, solid chunk of points gained for you over Championship leader Keegan Caldwell. So, congratulations on that. Let us know how helps get you and Team SRW Motorsports out on track. Anyone else you wish to give a shout out to as well? For myself and Hutto, congratulations on your class win here this evening.
Cheers, boys. Well, I'd like to thank you boys in the broadcast, everyone behind the scenes, Warren Brown Tools, Shannon's, Grim Industries, NeuroPower, DSL Railway Services, Cooler Masters, all the boys in the team, and everyone on track.
Well, mate, best of luck next week when we head out to VIR. Should be a good race. Sprint round upcoming. So best of luck out there. Hopefully you continue this run for yourself and get another top step. But, maybe if Dean's in P2 right behind you, maybe you give him the win next week. Who knows?
Yeah, never know. Not too confident in VIR, so anything can happen.
Well, that's right, mate. Could be pure chaos once again. But best of luck next week. You did well tonight. Look forward to seeing how you go.
Cheers, boys. Have a good one.
Thanks, mate. You too. Next up, we have P1 on the road here tonight. Matty Keane. Mr. Keane, P1 in race 1, P1 in race 2 as well. That was chaos for us in the booth. There was a bit of chaos in the mid-pack of this race, which you managed to avoid, but then all of a sudden, front runners just start to fall off left, right, and centre. What was the thought process throughout this one? Because, there were drivers moving here, there, or everywhere, dealing with those rear-end struggles. You drove a very clean, consistent race tonight in both races. I mean, what's the thoughts right now after that?
Yeah, Hamo. It was very frustrating, but also rewarding just to stay disciplined and just stay clean. It's a very technical track, but the rear end on this setup was really, really disconnected. But the damage model, like you get a tiny little touch on that little tail light, and the car just loses speed. It's a real struggle. So that was a bit of why I took it a bit easier, because I noticed that in practice. So I wanted to just keep clean. But very technical track, but very very interesting when you got mobile chicanes as well, when they're sliding backwards across the track.
Mobile chicanes, I like that one, Matty. I guess you I guess in the top 10 for the majority of the night. How was it, like you're saying, dodging those mobile chicanes all evening with the front runners just seeming to go left, right, and centre? I guess you had to be very aware tonight.
Yeah, it had to be really switched on, to be honest, Brad. It was difficult to also pick where the car was going to go when they actually went sideways, because as soon as you see the smoke, generally you think they're going to go the same way that they're already sliding. But if they put the boot into the throttle, they sort of grip in pretty quick and they sort of stay still. So it made it very interesting at times, especially late in that feature race. I think it was Pocock just got a little bit of curb behind Sinker, and that was close.
Yeah, I guess we saw a handful of drivers ahead of you spear off here, there, and everywhere, and you managed to keep your nose clean. Turning our attention to the Pro-Am Championship, seems that it seems to be you and Peter Zeidler going tit for tat at the moment. Zeidler finishing back in, had him just before, down in P24. I guess you'll pick up a handful of points this week. I guess you'll probably see Zeidler try and ping one back next week, Keeney?
Yeah, I'd say so. It was I knew Pete was going to be a pretty big contender for this season. Just after the first couple of rounds, it was a little disappointing. I got tangled up with a pro last week, and it cost me valuable points. But I've bounced back this week. Just trying to keep it clean. Sometimes it's difficult when you want to take your race line, and you know that the pros in particular corners are stronger than you, and they're coming. But it worked for me tonight. Hopefully it'll work again in the future, and I stay out of trouble while other people keep picking up a little bit here and there.
I guess that's the key to a Pro-Am victory. We've seen several times now where the winner of Pro-Am hasn't necessarily been the quickest driver, just on out-and-out pace, but it's always been the most consistent from what Hamish and I have seen thus far. So, yeah, I guess congratulations again, Matt. Let us know who helps you get out on track, and if there's anyone else you'd like to thank, give them a shout-out.
Yeah, our sponsor, Speed. If anyone's looking for the best sim racing apparel around, they got t-shirts, socks, and the best gloves out. Really breathable and everything. If you want a set, use the code SLM and you get a 10% discount. And I'd also like to thank all the SLM boys keeping me going. It's been a real tough road coming back from injury, health issues, so they've kept me going, and Dougie got me back in here to have some fun.
Well, mate, we love that you're having fun this season. We love that you're doing well as well, having some spectacular races and some positive finishes, and you are a proper challenger for this Pro-Am Championship. So we look forward to seeing how you go for the rest of the season. Best of luck next week out at VIR. We look forward to seeing how you go.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate your work.
Thanks, mate. Well, Hutto, some things change, but often things stay the same here in SFLs. One of those things is Carlins have two cars on the podium once again.
Where there's David, there is a Daniel. So, gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
How was that race for you guys? Towards the pointy end of the race for the entirety, but how was it managing the drivers, as we spoke to Keeney just before? They're just peeling off left, right, and centre. How was it for you two gentlemen?
Evening, gents. It was tricky. The restarts on cold tyres. There was a few people ahead of us, sort of coming off, spearing off, and I think it's the first time in the practice session I've seen so many incidents and so many people spearing off. It's a tricky track to navigate. Definitely.
I guess to both of you, casting our mind back to race one, unfortunately I'm going to mention Jamie Davis here. What was the initial reaction when you saw Davis go from the third row or the fourth row into P1 before turn one? What was the initial thoughts for there?
Yeah, well, he was a couple of rows behind me, I think, and I saw him jump start. And normally when that happens, you quickly get on the brakes and try and stop yourself from rolling too far forward, but he just kept his foot in it, and he just went flying past us. So I was interested to see if maybe he timed it perfectly. I was thinking, because he just kept going. But obviously he got the black flag at some point. I think it takes a while, 20 or 30 seconds, until you actually get the black flag, and then he's just kind of peeled off into the pits. But it was an epic launch. If he pulled it off, it would have been amazing.
Well, we worked out he was probably about half a second faster than the whole field off the line.
Yeah. And he had momentum, so he just kept going further and further. So yeah.
Well, I mean, he did it. I last week at Aragon in the supercars. He had a wicked start. He didn't get a jump start though. He got it right as the lights went out. He just peeled straight off the start line, and I thought, oh, has he done it again? I don't think he has, because that feels like a much bigger gap than when he did it last week. Turns out it was. I mean, by about half a second. So, yeah, there's such minimal little spaces in between those mistakes happening and those mistakes being made on a start line that you're right on that tether. You're right on that fine line of jump starting and getting the start absolutely perfect. So, but I mean, you guys had a great race early on in this one, though. Obviously, as well, you got tangled up with Dylan De Bono when he just boinged his way onto his air intake. I mean, he spun it round. You got caught up with it, and then he found a piece of wing buried in the floor that somehow just net coated him onto his roof. But I mean, what was it like dealing with some of those issues for some drivers out there? Because we saw a lot of drivers losing out with their rear end. A lot of drivers losing out, just getting off tracks, and then as well, just pure carnage ensuing for a lot of the race. So what was that like? And what was it like actually dealing with some of those safety car restarts, knowing that sort of stuff was happening?
Yeah, it felt really, really slippery tonight. Just in general, it felt more slippery than ever. In practice, so I was saying to the boys, I had about 60 off tracks, which in a race, usually I can go a whole race without getting any off tracks or any penalty points. So it was really slippery out there, and I knew a couple of the guys in Discord were talking about brake biases. So I think if people were playing with brake biases as well, they would have found the back end coming around a lot easier in some of those corners. So yeah, it was pretty messy, and yeah, it was interesting when De Bono, I'm not sure what happened. He kind of, I don't know if it was a dive or he got caught out and he kind of tried to swerve to miss me. But yeah, it was definitely net code, because just before that he had been blinking, and then I just tapped him just very slightly, and then he seemed to appear to my left and up in the air, and then he was upside down. So that was it's pretty unfortunate, because yeah, it would have been a good battle.
Well, I mean, the championship standings, I mean, they're quite crucial, of course. This would likely be De Bono's drop round this week, being that he had such a poor run in race 2. You guys are now able to take advantage of that finish on the podium tonight as well, obviously. So you came into this race inside that top 5. Daniel, you were P2. You're not necessarily going to overtake him in the standings. Actually,
he might just do it. I think
yeah.
when the points dribble through,
Well, 43
Burn's
points
P3.
separating them at the moment. Burn was P3. De Bono was 31 spots down, so that's 31 times 3, so it's 90-odd points. So you would actually take the lead of the championship, Daniel.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, but a few more races to come, so we'll see. It's pretty easy to make a small mistake like that and get put to the back there. So yeah, all I wanted to do was keep it clean. I said that at the start of the race to David. I said all I want to do is just keep it clean. As long as I'm kind of near the front somewhere, I'll be wrapped. So I'm really happy to get P3. I think yeah, in both races. So yeah, really happy with that.
Well, you both had an incredible run tonight. A stack of points coming both your guys' way. Let us know helps get you guys and Carlin's Motorsport out on track. Anyone else you wish to give a shout out to as well? And for myself and Hutto, congratulations on another double podium for Carlin's Motorsport.
Cheers. Yeah, just Drive Radar 8 on YouTube. Big shout outs to Glam Radar. It's their 9th birthday tomorrow. So if any of you guys want to get some makeup for the girlfriends or the missus, jump on to glamradar.com.au and check that out. Little Rara and Eagers Automotive, and big shout outs to Atari, Bianca, French and Minka, and Zach and Levi.
Very good, David and Daniel. Thank you so much for coming over chat to us. Best of luck next week out at VIR. We look forward to seeing how you're going. If we don't get a chance to speak to you, best of luck for the rest of the season ahead.
Right, Cheers, thanks guys. See ya.
Thank you. Catch you next week. Cheers.
Mr. Danny Davidson, you take yourself your first win of the season, become the 3rd winner of the season thus far, and all of a sudden you are once again a championship challenger, leading from the front and taking a win. Mate, how was that race for you out there?
Thanks, guys. Pretty hectic. Pretty hectic race with the safety cars, and people spinning off around me and things like that. I just focused on keeping it on the road, which was pretty tricky. And things sort of just fell into my lap, to be honest. But I'll take it.
Yeah, I guess you summed it up. Take it when you can, sort of thing. It's been a bit of a mixed bag for you so far this season, Danny. Good performance in round 2, round 3, not so good. Round 4, not too bad, and then of course back in the winners' circle for round 5. How have you found this season compares to last season in terms of the the skill level that's around you in the Pro Series?
I think the skill level is similar. It's similar. It's always very competitive up the front. Struggled a bit with consistency on some of the races, and Road America mistake, but it's just tricky. Yeah, it's hard to be up the front and not make mistakes. I think Dylan had a crash tonight. So yeah, it could happen any time. It's really tough out there. So it's been tricky.
Yeah, and I guess that's a testament to the guys that do go on to win those races, or the drivers that are able to just go out in front, stay in front, and take home the victory, because there must be a fair amount of pressure, like being P1, and then if you're P2, you've kind of got that little, redundancy in terms of the driver was just a little bit better than myself on the day. But those 2 restarts, we saw Donahoe kind of skip away on the first one, and then I think you kept quite close in the second. Was there any, what was going through your mind on those 2 restarts and trying to get that P1 nice and quickly?
I was just waiting to catch the right time, trying to watch when he went, but he jumped me both times, so I've got some work to do. He was great on the restarts, and he got a nice jump, and that's about it.
I guess, yeah, did you anticipate he was going to go as soon as we went around the apex of that final corner, or did you anticipate that he'd try and take it to the line?
I was trying to anticipate, but obviously badly both times. It wasn't the best.
I guess potentially something to work on in the weeks ahead, eh, Danny?
Yep, but I mean, Tom helped me out half a lap later when he spun out, so it's all good.
Well, Danny, you had a great run home this evening. You will gain some solid points in the championship as well. Very important for this championship run, especially with such a poor run from Dylan De Bono. This should find yourself solidly up towards the top 5 of the championship. So, season's not over yet. You've got yourself one hell of a lifeline by taking out this race win. Hopefully, you can continue the run throughout the rest of this season and try and get a couple more next to your name. Let us know who helps get you out on track. Anyone else you wish to give a shout out to as well, for myself and Hutto and the rest of the league. Congratulations on another win for yourself here on the Wednesday Night Super Formula Championship.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, just usual shout out to you guys and everybody behind the scenes. That's about it. I'm looking forward to next round, and yeah.
Well, mate, we look forward to seeing how you go next round. Best of luck next week out at VIR, and if we don't get a chance to speak to you, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks. See you later, guys.
Thanks, mate. Well, Hutto, chaos.
Another week.
Chaos is probably the word to best describe this week.
Another very exciting week, and I guess Danny touched on it just then. The last couple of weeks have been quite hard on the drivers. Like this week, the back end was quite slippery using the iRacing setup here at Navarra. Last week was a handful with the changing conditions, going from wet to dry again, and then the anticipated wet and not having wet and staying dry. And I guess next week is more of a familiar track at VIR with the high downforce setup, I think it is. But in saying that, it's still very slippery because, as we know at VIR, it's just grass on either side. So if you drop a wheel, you could find yourself in the fence very, very quickly, Hamish.
Yeah, you could. It's going to be intense next week. I don't know if we're going to be as likely to get safety cars as we were this week with the amount of runoff that we have at VIR, which means it's going to be important for drivers to keep it on the tarmac. They're not really going to get lifelines as much next week in terms of safety car possibilities. But the week after at Watkins, that'll be a whole different story. Surrounded by barriers, a former street circuit set up as a permanent race course. That's going to be one hell of a race for us. I believe that's our second last F1 Shadow round, is it not?
Third last, because there's a triple header heading into the final 3 weeks. So yeah, we have Watkins Glen, third last. Then we go to Jerez, for our second last round, and then our final round at Daytona.
That's right. So a big end to our season coming up, a multitude of US circuits plus another Spanish circuit thrown into the mix. So this has been a wonderful, wonderful race once again, Hutto. Pure chaos. It's one of my favourite races of the season we've had thus far, actually. I've quite enjoyed it here this evening, even if every single finish wasn't the one that we expected to happen. But big thank you goes out to all of our series sponsors, including our title sponsors, Warren & Brown Tools, for their support of the Tuesday night V8 Supercars Series and the Sunday night V8 Supercars Championship, as well to Cooler Master for their continued support here for the Wednesday night Super Formula Championship, and to Shannon's Insurance for their support of the GR86 Nationals on Thursday nights, as well to our other series sponsors, NeuroPower, DSL Rail Services, Shunt Scenery, and Grim Industries, home of the V8 Coffee Table, which can be found on Prime Video's Top Gear Australia during the news, interviews, and other studio segments. But I've been Hamish Munro, joined alongside by Brad Hudson once again. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe, and the bell icon as well, so you're notified whenever we go racing here on SRWtv. But until next time, you guys will be joined by JP and Sinker tomorrow night out at Scuba Circuit for the GR86s. But until then, stay safe, drive hard, and as always, bye for now.
This is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostert and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to sniff on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because, tell you what, Reece Tanak and Jamie Dyke just